things together in time last night. I had, yeah, I had so much piled on me yesterday that it wasn't even funny. I was just like, oh. Thank you. My daughter bought that for me for my birthday. She was afraid I wasn't going to like it. She got it at one of the Mexican markets there in Tulsa. She sees us over here munching all the time.
Here's a meeting time.
I'm just like, okay, what did I do?
Huh?
Please give me this woman's check so she will stop praying me crazy. So she needs to know this out first. Okay.
What's she doing getting a check? Where's mine? Huh? I've already spent it. I spent it before I ever got it.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Oh, Lordy.
Make a copy of what? What do you want me to sign? Under the check? You want me to put it in Lovato? That's all right. I'll put Tidwell on it. Yep. Stay safe. There you go. I will make. I'll get the FedEx as soon as I get out of here. The thing is, her husband ended up having surgery. All right, and they ended up getting evicted, so they're staying in a hotel right now.
All right. Good morning, y'all.
Florida, they don't care. Right? Yeah. There's a lot of people that are going through that right now. Mary, this sun's hot.
Yeah, it
You wanna
is.
move the table back?
I don't know whether that'll do any good or not. We can give her a shot.
Put on back a little more.
Yeah, that's pretty good right there.
Sun's hot.
Yes, it is.
We don't need no tan, do we? We don't need tan.
No, not really. I'd like to welcome you citizens. I'm glad you showed up here. I'm sorry we're in disarray, but it'll all get straightened out sometime or another. Thank you for coming.
Good morning. How are you? Good. How are you? In Pryor. We did it in Claremore last year. Oh, yeah. At the Methodist church. In Pryor? I think it's been about 10 years ago whenever they did it over there. Yeah. I can't remember what street it's on. I can find it for you. Yeah. I'll even drive by there whenever I get out. When I get out of here, if you want me to, I can drive by there and get the correct address for you. Hmm. Yeah. I thought they were going to do. Hmm, that's kind of disappointing, though. Yeah. Well, but I will drive by there just as soon as whenever I leave from here, I'll go around by Claremore and get the address for you. Mhm. I'll call you as soon as they should have because they used the machine there last year. Oh, okay. Where's all of the information from? All right. Will you send out an email stating that because something needs to be done about that. That is information that belongs to the tribe, and no one has the right to confiscate or take that or hide it or anything. There should be they should have paperwork on all of that stuff. That's a shame. That is a shame. But still, there should be there. You guys should have some information. Yeah, yeah. Well, you guys, it seems like y'all getting it together and doing a pretty good job, though. Yeah. Did you guys get your pay straightened out? Good, good, good. So you guys are getting money. That's good. Right? Yeah. All right. Uh-huh.
How are you, young lady?
You're welcome. How are you?
If I was any better, I couldn't stand it.
Understand, understand.
Okay, as soon as we get situated, we'll begin. I have 10:06 a.m. Hawaii, Dana Gisa, no Gilea, Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started. Welcome to the United Kituwa Band regular council meeting, Wellness Center, Saturday, July the 11th, 2020, 10:06 a.m. I call this meeting to order. Item number 1 on the agenda is to do so. Item number 2 is invocation. Gagjon Dile, who wants to try the invocation this morning? Frank? Or Councilor Steele? Thank you for that, Councilor Steele. Moving along to item number 3 on the agenda is the roll call. And with that, I'll turn it over to the secretary.
Good morning, everyone. I am going to call roll, which is item number 3, as Chief stated. Eddie? Jeannie?
Here.
Elamay?
Honey.
Adeline? Frankie? Sharon? Joyce here. Peggy? Jamie?
Here.
Charles? Barry? Jeff?
Here.
Okay, Chief, Council, we have quorum.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's see. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Chief's address to the council. And with that, I'll begin. Certainly welcome each and every one of you to the Wellness Center. Thank you for being here. We look forward to this day's activity. First of all, I just want to say I want to thank the employees, the staff for their continued commitment to providing services to our tribal members. We've made changes in our operations and will continue to do so as this coronavirus evolves. And with that, the pandemic has spiked since July 7th, 2020. The totals from our membership's big counties are Adair County with 136 cases, Cherokee County with 111, and Delaware County with 229 cases. By city, Tahlequah is the largest with 81 cases, 1 death, and 6 recoveries. Stillwell is next with 70 cases, 4 deaths, and 59 recoveries. Jay is 44 cases with 0 deaths and 44 recoveries. Statewide, we have 19,092, 416 deaths, 14,648. Oklahoma City is the largest city that has the most in terms of cases, deaths, and recovery with 3,456, 65 deaths, 2,546 recoveries. With that, keep those families and keep those friends in our prayers as we offer recovery to those as well, and the best wishes to their families. The best advice we could probably give is to follow the CDC's, the Center of Disease Control's recommendations as to wash and sanitize hands frequently, wear face masks, practice social distancing, limit gatherings to 10, stay home if you're sick. Presently in Stillwell, Mayor Wright, Jean Ann Wright, issued a mandatory face mask going into buildings or going into businesses and things of that nature. So that's there. Additionally, we know that statewide, other cities and towns are probably getting ready to implement those types of things as well. One thing I do want to acknowledge is thank you, Councilor Wakachi, for wearing your face mask at the compact signing. That was a grand sight to see. You know, early on, I mentioned that this thing was evolving. The coronavirus, the COVID-19 was evolving. Early on, it said that the statistics indicated that 65 and over with medical problems and things of this nature was most likely to have problems with this virus. Today, the statistics has changed. Now it's operating on the 20 and 30-year-olds. So, and the big scare behind that was that the kids, the youth, would catch it elsewhere and bring it home to grandma and grandpa. And so those were some of the big things that were out there. Okay, on June 6th, 8 members of the council enacted an unlawful issuing of an addendum, Resolution 20 UKB 65, to my January impeachment censure. I've made a motion for emergency injunction prohibiting such action, since that it's yet to be heard. In issuing an unlawful addendum, many have noticed that my name was removed from the checks that came out for the coronavirus grant. I've been removed from signature authority from the banks, as well as review the accounts. I guess there was too many questions asked about different parts or different departments, accounts and things of this nature. So that might have happened there. I can no longer, you've noticed that I wasn't on the picture signing the compact. Well, that addendum relieved me of duties to travel on behalf of the United Kituah Band. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to say this, that the Congressman Langford as well as Mullins still think the chief is the person that they need to talk to in terms of issues of sovereignty for the tribe. So I appreciate them calling. My appeal for impeachment, the arguments are set for August 21st. The arguments are set for August 21st, with briefs to begin to be submitted on July the 14th and throughout. I've requested the AG to recuse himself. Yes. Well, I don't necessarily believe that, because I'm sure the tribal members want to hear this. I certainly.
Okay, this is not the appropriate time.
I certainly object to that. And at the
So
same
do I.
token.
This is the
and at
chief's
same
report.
token,
This is the chief's report to the people. So I'm glad that he has the opportunity to speak to the people directly.
In saying so,
There will be
in saying so,
brought up in court.
I've asked the AG to recuse himself from the appeal, because of the fact that some of the activities that I was allegedly to have misconducted on, he granted the authority, and he worked with me under the circumstances of that. Additionally, during the executive session, he witnessed some illegal activities in the executive session, so he's been now recused. Incidentally, Doug Dry, the judge, the 8 council members asked that he recuse himself because we've had a knowledge and relationship for about 30 to 40 years. Well, that knowledge and relationship was 46 years, and throughout, we hadn't talked to each other. We see each other occasionally. We ask each other how the kids are and that bit, but no buddy type thing. So my appeal, the arguments are set for August 21st, 2020. I wait to see what progress we've made. On the Care Relief Act funds. We passed Resolution 20 UKB 62, approving to apply to engage Finley and Cook for Corona-19 consulting and controller services. The resolution did not allow the treasurer to sign the contract for removing our accounting department and approved fees in excess of what was discussed. Additionally, the fees that weren't discussed was 3.982% of all the CARE Act funds, in addition to the $240,000 for the initial agreement. So I wait to see what else has happened. Resolution 20 UKB 63, CARE Act funds for pandemic relief allows $5 million for CARE Act fund for the housing department, $5 million for CARE Act fund for 9 pandemic related buildings, $3 million for education for pandemic. Incidentally, council, for education, one of the things was suggested was working on computers and Wi-Fi's and things of that nature for the communities. School's about to start. I know we did talk a little bit about that, but let's push for that as well. And $50,000 for health and human services to emergency aid for tribal members. Our 2018 audit is about, as I know it, as I understand it, about 80% complete. We look forward for that to be completed soon, and we'll begin starting on the next audit. On June 22nd, 2020 was a great day for the United Kituwa Band, non-Indians and all Cherokees. As the United States Supreme Court denied CNO Centauria request for the 76 acres for our land in trust. That was a great day for everyone. On June 27th, 2020, we held a special meeting to discuss and approve Governor Stitt's compact, which we later signed on July 1. We certainly thank the corporate board for their activities and they're doing in that. John Adair, Eldine, thank you very much for those. And we look forward to the project. Now, the thing is, we still have some hurdles to go with that. We held a discussion on what action to take against Representative Mullins' House Resolution 7263. If enacted, would reverse current 1999 appropriation bills to read, in order to put land in trust in the historic 14-county Cherokee Nation jurisdiction. Presently, it reads, you consult. But if this change goes into effect, it will say we have to have consent. Now, we know that in the long term, over the years, that we've never received consent. So that's very important. Each one of us, Native American, non-Native American, UKB, non-Cherokee, everybody, let these congressmen know that we object to this resolution. On a national level, the McGurk case, the Supreme Court issued a ruling, an opinion, or 5-4 decision saying that Oklahoma reservations are intact. Oklahoma reservations are intact. So that is a tremendous day. What that means for us is certainly we'll have the ability to go after programs and land in trust a lot. It should make it simpler. In addition to, we look for, we know that the boundaries were never removed, so to speak, and that's where it's at there. We've made great strides in moving our tribe forward, regardless of the outcome or what disadvantages come our way. We're working to improve services to our tribal people, our tribal members. Our future looks great. Please keep our staff, our council, and our tribe in your prayers. Thank you. Okay, having said that, let's move to item number 5, the approval of the regular minutes for the month of June 20th. Secretary. All right. But Noah Young.
Okay, council, chief has turned it over to me. If you'll notice that at your seating, I had a paper clip of both June 6th and June 27th. I had those in the system. I apologize. I just now got them on the table as a hard copy and bypassed the email that I normally do, but I would ask that if you all want to accept, or if you want to ask, go back to those later as the meeting goes on. Um, and those are for June, June 6th, June 27th.
Madam Secretary, a question, please.
Yes,
I notice on the June 6th minutes here, we have it, there's a motion to table the month of May. So, did we never approved the month of May, did we?
if you choose to accept what's on the table today, then in August, I will bring back May. I guess I just solely overlooked those. I'm sorry.
No, we just table it all. Just table it all and bring it on in May. In
Okay,
August.
so you just want to, and bring back May and June and August, right? Okay. May and June.
So I'll make a motion to go ahead and table, and we'll bring it all in August. If that's okay?
I will make second.
Is that all right? Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
The May minutes were tabled.
And I overlooked bringing May along with June.
Okay.
Was there something you wanted to discuss?
Well, I'm just trying to clear up my thinking here. So we're going to table both June minutes today, and then in August, we're going to approve both Junes and Mays. Is that the way I understand it?
Yes.
Yes.
I understand, yeah, I know what we
We
got.
only
I
have-
understand
I
it.
just want to clear up my thinking here. We're
Yes.
tabling all the minutes from May, both meetings in June until, and then today's meeting, will they be
Will also
available
be
for
in
us to
August.
approve in June? So we'll be approving
May, June,
May,
and July.
June, 2 meetings in June and July. Okay.
What number? 5.
No, I'm fine. I just want to make sure we're all clear on it.
June.
Hey, Joyce,
May, June, and July. Yes, ma'am.
with that being said, you may want to send an email out to everybody and include these minutes again because, you know, papers get moved, papers get shuffled. I think it would be best.
And that's what I said. I was.
Yeah.
I just solely said, we've been so busy.
I know.
Apologize.
Yeah.
But that's no excuse either, but it has been crazy around there. Okay, let me reread it's to table June minutes and to include May, June, and July in the August meeting. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. August council.
We had, I think we had a couple of meetings in May also, didn't we?
May 30 and the regular.
We had one on May 16th too.
Mhm.
Will the minutes of that meeting be?
Yeah, and there was no meeting in April because of the COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, council, is everybody understanding? And I will call for vote. Eddie? Jeannie?
Yes.
Ella May?
Yes.
Adeline?
The one.
Frankie? Sharon?
Yes, I would like to comment, though, that I would like to get these in a timely manner to where we could look at them and review them. If that makes any sense to you guys?
Joyce, yes. Peggy? Yes. Jamie?
Yes.
Charles? Barry?
Yes.
Jeff?
No.
Okay. Council under yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Under no, we have 2. Motion carries.
What a crash landing.
Thought they
Who
were
knows?
moving over there.
Eddie and Jeff.
Yeah, he said yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, council, chief, it says continue on with the reports to council. On the enrollment report, that was since the enrollment committee are still under the elder status and with the COVID, I've just been mailing the reports to them and they're mailing them back with their response. Last month's meeting, all reports to council was tabled. So this carries over the 2 names that I have today. One continues from June and the other one is for today. The committee has accepted the report that I mailed to them. So at this time, there is 2 on for approval from you, council, to accept. And I would ask for a motion of acceptance.
Yeah, motion.
Second? Motion, second? Oh, Charles? Item 6. Okay, I will call for vote. We have a motion by Adeline, a second by Charles for the enrollment report of the 2 names listed. Eddie? Jeannie?
Yes.
LMA?
Yes.
Adeline?
Oh, yes.
Frankie? Sharon?
Yes.
I vote yes. Peggy? Jamie?
Yes.
Charles? Barry? Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, chief, council, motion carries. Next one you had at your seating, I handed you a report. This was given by the tag clerk. And she has the dates and stuff. It was this one with all the figures across there. That's what Sheila gave us from the tag office. This is what she has here, she sends straight to accounting. And since the tax commission has not met based on the COVID, this goes straight from her to accounting. So if you, like at this time, if you have any questions, you can call Sheila at the tag office. So this is what she has given me, I think Thursday or Friday. So if you'll see up in the left-hand corner, she has the dates outlined. So.
I'm just wondering, did she explain if these numbers are in the red on the bottom? And normally in the red means that it's a deficit?
No, I don't think that's what that means.
Those are actually should be just highlighting to make sure that that's what everybody sees, what they are. Okay, yeah, because normally.
Yeah, because on the left side, you'll see it says grand total. So she doesn't say like in in anything reflecting to negative.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify
Okay.
that because normally a budget sheet, if it's red, it's a
Okay.
deficit. So,
I can relay that to her Tuesday regarding your response.
So are those months to date totals then, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay,
See
okay.
on the left-hand side, you'll see the dates.
All right, thank you.
Okay, council, those are my two reports to bring to you today.
Secretary,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to ask, do you get a stipend? Do all of you get a stipend when you meet with this tax commission?
Yes.
Why is that yes, when Gen Fund is always in a deficit? Why do y'all get a stipend?
The commission, you could ask the commission, they're the ones that voted to get a stipend, and the stipend comes out of the tag in the budget. And you might, Eddie, you might clarify that since, because I don't vote, I'm the chairman, I don't cast a vote in the meetings.
I don't, can you get your microphone, please? I don't hear you.
It's my understanding that when the budget was passed by the allocation for the tax commission and the tag office, that was one of the line items that was in there that this council passed. So therefore, I know a lot of them got withdrawn, but this council passed it. That's why.
So how much do y'all get?
I didn't go to the last meeting, but I think was it 150?
How much do y'all get? 150.
Yeah, I think it's 150. You voted for it.
That was probably when we had more money too.
You still voted for it.
But we don't have the money now.
You still voted for it.
So what did you bring up to say that you don't do stipends, or what is the reason to bring that up? I mean, just saying, because we can go back and forth on, we voted for it, we don't have the money.
And I do understand that, but I'm just saying the finances are always in a deficit. So why are people on certain committees getting stipends when we're in a deficit? That was just my point.
Point taken, okay, all right. Financial report, please.
Okay, if you look, Laura sent an email, I think it was Thursday. And as usual, like I mentioned, we are in a deficit. We spent $114,007.99 in the month of June. And we only brought in $28,000. So to me, that's a big no-no when everybody else is getting stipends. Now, I can understand when they're driving in about stipends, they need to get mileage. But everybody's getting a stipend. Is that right, Joyce? So you get one too?
Yes. And just to clarify that, I'm not really understanding when you mentioned Gen Fund, the stipends would come out of the tag budget. And that's a different entity. It doesn't come from the Gen Fund.
I would just like to question why the treasurer, she talks about we're in a deficit, but she signed a contract to approve to outsource our accounting at $20,000 a month for the first 3 months. And then after that, the fee is going to be negotiated, whenever we had a full staff of accounting already, and they're all tribal members. So I was
And
just
Jeff,
wondering why you would
that
do. Can you explain
resolution
that
passed.
to the people? Can you explain? That resolution was
resolution
never,
passed.
that resolution was never brought to the council, never brought to the council, never approved by the council. The contract was never reviewed by our AG, never approved by our AG. So I
But
would
the
like for you to
council
explain to these people right
resolution-
here. Explain to these people right here.
The council resolution
How you
passed
could do
that
that.
resolution.
How you could do that. Read the resolution to me to show me that it says that. Read it to me, please. Read it to the people.
I don't have it right now, but the council passed that resolution.
No,
So as
no,
the
ma'am.
treasurer,
No,
I
ma'am.
did sign
No,
that.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
I could honestly say from a business aspect, that resolution was passed, and when that contract was signed, the contract was signed secondary as a job that was being followed up on. This was the second step to getting this resolution completed.
Right.
And that was just getting a job done. And there were certain people there at that contract signing, and I was one of them. I did look at that contract, and I agreed with that contract. There were other council people that were there. And when Jeff says that we didn't look at it, and he literally called me a liar the other day and stated that I didn't look at it, that I didn't read it, he wasn't there to know whether I read it or not.
I did
So
not
Jeff,
call,
in regards to that,
I did not call you a
we can
liar.
sit here and name call all day long, but we were getting a job done that needed to be done. There is COVID money, $24 million that came into our program, that came to the Katuas. We need to get it spent before December, by December. And to get these programs into effect, we had to sit somebody there that knew what to do with that money. And if we can play, we can have this pissing party all day long, but it's not gonna amount to nothing. We go round and round in circles fighting over stupid things, and we get nothing accomplished. This was just moving forward as far as I'm concerned. And sorry for the bad words, but that's just how I feel.
And I
Thank you,
just want to
Sharon.
clarify
Thank
that
you.
I did not call you a liar.
Let's
Saying
go
that
on.
you didn't review it. I called you a liar because
Yes,
you
let's
said
go on. This
that
is
I
an
was
issue that's already
informed.
been resolved.
Okay, if I could just interject something and we're going to move on. Folks, Resolution 20 UKB 62 says that whereas the Council of United Kituwa Band Cherokee Indians in Oklahoma does approve to apply to engage Finley and Cook for COVID-19 counseling or consulting and controller services. What happened was when they signed that contract, they removed all the functions of accounting out. That's not said that in here. I pointed that out Tuesday night. We pointed out that additionally to the $20,000, there was, for the first 3 months, there was additional monies coming out to a grand tune. It's a huge tune. So that's enough on that. That's what we said.
Let's move on,
The council talked about this. They didn't do anything about it. So, well, of course, it was just a meeting. So it wasn't a call meeting. We couldn't do anything about it then. So.
Yeah, it was just a question and answer.
Well, who else
and
were you
I asked
gonna
the
get to
question.
do it?
I asked the
Did you have
question.
anybody else lined up to do it? You did not?
It wasn't a call meeting. We couldn't act on
Well, you and
anything.
Jeff have been on this, whatever it is that you guys have been complaining about for the past few weeks, ever since this was done, and you guys did not have anybody else in line to do this.
We did. But anyway, we're going on, okay?
But, but
It's a done deal now.
But the agreement was to $20,000 a month also and reviewing this contract, I didn't get it for a week and a half. And after I got this contract, I reviewed it and reached out to the AG, and the contract in there states they're going to get $20,000 a month for the next 6 months, which is $120,000 to outsource our accounting. But then after January 1, it continues on. If there's no end. So for a year, that's $240,000 that we're going to pay for accounting services. And then on top of that, our CARES Act funds, they're going to get 3.982% of each CARES Act award that we got. Well, we got the tribe got 24 million, and then housing got some, human services got some, ICW and child care and Light Horse all got these funds right here. So that's going to total up to around $28 million that the tribe got. They're going to get 3.98% of each award. So that's going to equal up to be over $1 million that these counselors aren't understanding, that this company's going to get over $1 million in the next 6 months from us. No questions asked.
Okay. Thank you for that, counsel. We're going to go on. If you have some concerns or anything of that nature, you need to get with your counselor and address those, okay? Here we go. Financial reports over. Corporate board, Mr. Hendricks. Excuse me, Mr. Hendricks, wait a minute. I'm sorry, Treasurer, were you finished? Okay, all right, thank you.
No, it's on the email. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Also, I would like to request that whenever accounting, like with Laura, that the requests come a little bit sooner, because getting it 1 or 2 days in advance, sometimes we don't have time to review it. Some of us don't have the capability to be able to print at home. I mean, I can do it at work, but I can't do it at home right now, so I'd like to make a request for her to try to get those out to everybody a little bit sooner.
Well, it'll be solved with,
Finley, cooking
yeah,
Finley.
yeah. So they'll be coming in and giving the report.
Okay, the treasurer stated she finished her financials. I need a raising of the right hand of acceptance for her report. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. You got, the last month's report was tabled, so you got both of them there in front of you. I'll give you a brief overview of what's happening now. We'll start with the brew house. Well, actually, let me go back. The corporate board had their May meeting on June 5th. All members were present, as well as myself and Chief Joe Bunch. We had no proposals presented at that meeting. We then met for the month of June on July 2nd. All members were present, as well as myself. Again, we had no business proposals then. I'll start with the River Brew House. The construction is near completing. We have checked out all the appliances and equipment that we're using, because we brought over a lot from the old casino, and they're all still in great shape. The exterior brickwork is actually, I think it's completed now. We have the south and north wall finished. The security cameras are installed. Everything is up and working, all the electronic equipment. The brew tanks are they were being shipped last month, and they're here now. We are awaiting on scheduling to get those installed. KCI, we attended a pre-bid conference for the Port of Muskogee. That was on July 2nd, I believe. The pre-bid conference was for project bidders who have questions on plan changes, things like that. The actual sealed bid is due July 16th by 2 p.m. This one is for the first phase. There's 3 phases. The first phase is the one that we're bidding on now. It's mostly dirt work, elevation, and getting things up that flooded in the big flood we had last year, 2 years ago, whenever that was. It'll be about a little over $1 million project from what we're gathering so far. KCTS, we're actually billing our clients now through the Oklahoma Healthcare Authority and a grant that we have. The grant that we have allows us to reach out to the community, to people who do not have insurance or can't pay. That grant helps cover those also. We are actually implementing a new system here in Tahlequah, which will then when it's implemented here, we'll bring it over to Tulsa. It's actually going to help us with our billing. It's called Cario. We've recently brought on a licensed social worker, a clinical social worker, so we can expand our client base and bill Medicare. We have brought on case managers also, who not only will provide direct service to individuals, but they are able to provide some outreach, and we can build collaboration and relationships with other entities at the same time. And that will help fulfill our needs for our COVID outreach grant. Any questions?
Yeah, Randall, how many people total have been hired for this new project for KCTS?
For the Tahlequah Clinic, we have 6 people, and they're all covered under the grant.
And when is it going to open?
They are open now. They're seeing clients because of the recent epidemic. Before the epidemic happened, we had to wait on our site visit from the Oklahoma Healthcare Authority, but they've since waived that. So we're now actually being able to see people. We're going to actually put in our back billing this next week for the past 3 weeks. So we've been open, I guess, seeing people for 3 weeks now.
Okay, because I'm seeing expenses for the last 2 months for the Achota Behavior Health, but I've not seen any revenues.
And that's why they're going to put through the 3 weeks of billing we have. They will start next week.
Yeah. And then also for KCI, there's no revenues for KCI listed either. So are they doing anything, or what's going on there? If there's no revenue.
Right now they're bidding projects for housing, but the past year or so they've been dedicated to the brew house. And once that's finished, they'll submit us a bill. They're going to charge about 15 to 20%, just so they can have a track record. So yeah, they've been committed to just the brew house.
So that's a $500,000 project already right now that we're looking at, and we're still looking at a couple more months out. So.
Well, actually, the construction should be wrapping up in about 3 weeks.
Yeah. So $500,000 for about a year and a half. They should have a pretty good profit there to show.
They have been, it's mostly going towards salaries and materials.
Yeah. And then also I'm looking at this Achota Village report here, and it says contract services, $7,892. What is that right there?
That would be labor and vendors, electricians, plumbers, things like that. We've completed the bathhouse. That was a big remodel. And the workers there, we have 3 employees, and they've been open Thursday through Sunday, and they have been busy. So they have been getting a lot of hours.
And then what about this vehicle expense at $5,155? What is that? I know we got our vans donated over from the transportation department for the Achota Village.
That's right.
So
we got 2 buses. One bus, the transmission was gone. So that's the price of labor and installing a rebuilt transmission.
And that one, we got those last year. So you just now recently got the transmission built?
No,
the Achota Village was open last year.
That's right.
So
we've only needed 1 bus until this year. Last year was our first year. We weren't as busy as we are now.
In regard to this grant that it's talking about, is that the IHS grant?
That's the COVID grant from SAMHSA.
It's a COVID grant? Okay. And in regards to billing the OKHCA, as a nurse, I know that one of the biggest needs in this area is what you guys are setting up in this area. And a lot of people don't know about it yet. And I know that you guys have not really advertised yet. But when I sat in on that meeting, this was very positive. And with a behavioral health unit, I work with elderly clients that we have a large need sometimes, and we have no place to send them. And the nearest places that we can send people, we have a lot of children that have ADD, ADHD, autism, so forth, that the parents have to take them for counseling. And when they do that, they wait months sometimes for an appointment. And with this program is going to be an all-inclusive program that's going to have a lot of these needs met. And I know a lot of people that I have talked to about this program, and they're looking forward to it. So, and I feel like it's going to generate a revenue. We are going to make money from it because we're going to we're going to get money from sources like Medicaid, Sooner Care, and a lot of these private insurances that we can bill. So I look at this as very positive. So I appreciate the work you guys have done.
Well, thank you.
I'd like to add something too. I think you left off that this new behavioral health, Shield of Behavioral Health out here, they're going to be sending out surveys to all of our people. I think we have about 13,800 or something like that. So there's going to be a mailer coming out. I'd like for each of you counselors to tell your constituents in your areas. They'll be receiving, it's a survey, but it's to help be able to get more money through SAMHSA. So it's very important that we mail these surveys back in. They'll be self-addressed. Is it a postcard or something? It's just going to be a real simple survey, but it's a demonstration that we're reaching out to our tribal members, okay? And so be sure and tell your people to watch for those surveys coming. I think the secretary is going to be mailing them all out. We've got to get that. We've got the survey and everything put together. We just got to get the card or whatever it is that goes with it. And that's going to cost a lot of money, but the grant covers all that. And be sure and tell people to send that back in. If we get several thousand of those back in, we've demonstrated that we're doing our outreach so we can get more money. And we're going to be opening these facilities up. There's a big push for mental health in the country today, mental health clinics like this. So we have an opportunity with our 638 contract to really, this be a real profitable business. So everybody, hopefully their goals are, you always got to plan your work and then work your plan. But we've got a great staff. We finally got the handle on the billing and everything's coming together. We had to put in new software to get the back billing in place. And there's going to be a big turnaround. The corporate board I'm very excited. There's a lot of things that's happening. A lot of people don't understand about billing businesses. You just don't jump out there and be profitable overnight. Any typical business plan typically takes 5 years to see a profit margin that's, suitable. So this corporate board and the previous corporate board that's been there, we've worked hard, and now we're starting to see the fruits of all of our labor. And I don't know if any of you have noticed out there at the new behavioral clinic out here on the highway, we've expanded the parking lot. Now we've got a nice driveway in. We're cleaning that place up. It's going to be a first-class operation. There's that building set there it was finished in 2012. I carried Counselor Dotson out there the other day, and he didn't even know the building was there. And he'd been on the council for several years. So there was a lot of the mushroom syndrome going on in the past around here. And so things are starting to develop now. And I'm proud of all the hard work everybody's put in this. And Randall, thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you. Also, we have a website. We're going to post everything we're doing, project, status reports, pictures. It's called ukbcorporateboard.com.
So I'm listening to Sharon and what she was talking about a while ago. She said that you guys in your facilities, you're going to have specializations for like ADHD, autism, things like that?
That's a goal.
Also, those people that are running this operation, they're reaching out to the schools and like the Moreau home over there. They're going to be doing counseling there. Oaks Mission School, there's a lot of opportunity there. So we're going out to them communities and there'll be counselors going out. You failed to mention that too.
Yeah, you're right, I did. They've approached those schools and they found a need, no one was servicing them. So they've agreed to let our people come in and provide that service to their children.
So here's kind of just like kind of run through my head. You know, we have several schools, like you said, like, you know, Oaks Mission, stuff like that. Even in the community where I live, there is nothing there for special needs children that need the special classroom type, like for ADH, for autism and stuff like that. I have a grandson that's autistic. And we're having a hard time being able to even find somewhere to place him, to put him in school, because he can't go into the regular school setting.
From what we found, there's no one
There's,
close.
there's like, I think there's an actual school in Broken Arrow and there's one in Tulsa. But if you don't live in those districts, they don't take transfer students. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is on. That's one thing they also talked about, was providing transportation for a lot of these people that live in outlying areas.
yeah.
And that's not something anybody else offers.
I can't imagine putting a child on a bus though in the morning from Catoosa all the way to Tahlequah. That's a
Yeah,
bit
but
of
I
a
mean,
travel.
you know, like with a parent, of course, you know, a lot of
Yeah.
times they're not seen without parents.
But yeah, that's
No,
interesting. I do have another issue that I want to kind of bring up, or something that I want to speak with you guys on and kind of bring to light a little bit. I don't know if everybody looked at the meeting minutes. I don't even have them in front of me. I dumped my bag last night and I didn't put everything back in. But it appears as though the corporate board has given themselves a raise in stipend.
That's right.
Okay. Was that raise in stipend, was that approved by council?
I'm not aware of that. I was in quarantine during that time,
Okay.
but I have read the minutes also, yes.
Because just to make you aware that goes against the corporate act. And how much of an increase in stipend did you guys give yourselves?
I believe it was increase of 150.
An
You
increase,
might
so
want
it
to double check
doubled?
that.
I can address that. I wasn't at the meeting. Eddie was there. Eddie, you might take that over, but they moved up the meetings, I understand, to make 2 meetings a month. We've been meeting so much. If you want to talk about that, that might, because you were at that meeting, and when that, I don't remember who made the resolution, but that was a meeting that I didn't attend. So would you elaborate on that and answer her question?
The minutes of the meeting states John Adair
Right,
made the motion,
yeah.
and it actually passed 5-0. So if it passed 5-0,
Yeah.
the assistant chief is saying he wasn't there, and I mean, there's 5 members on the corporate board.
Assistant chief wasn't
Yes, sir.
there, just for the
So
record.
did
but
you
I-
call in,
Let
or
me
did
finish,
you-
let me finish.
Did you
let me
call
finish,
in, or
let
how
me
did you
finish, let
how
me
did you
finish.
vote? If the vote was 5-0,
Oh, boy. Do you understand what proxy means? I'm asking you a question. Do you understand what giving your proxy away means? Do you understand that? So you're insinuating that I'm perhaps not telling the truth, but when I said I wasn't there. Is that what you're insinuating?
the vote was 5-0.
Okay,
Answer my question.
That was a reasonable explanation.
I got a
of that. As far
reasonable
as-
question here.
As far as.
I understand
proxy
what the vote was, Chief.
Okay, we're
But
gonna
are
go
you
on.
There's 5
insinuating-
members of the corporate
Are
board. The
you
vote was 5-0.
insinuating that I
No.
wasn't there, Jeff? I mean,
The vote was 5-0. There's 5 members of the corporate board.
That's true.
Eddie, would you
Okay,
go ahead and
here we go.
elaborate? You remember, tell them what happened there, so they'll know what's happened.
During,
If I remember correctly, I believe that Mr. Thompson had a proxy, so that's how he was able to get the 5-0 vote.
okay, in the future, when you add that to your minutes, make sure that it's proxy vote and things of that nature noted as well, okay?
Definitely will, definitely.
So,
Additionally, so you said how much was the amount of stipend?
so you guys increased your stipend, you doubled your stipend, basically,
They
is what you did. So you went from $150 to $300 a meeting?
I do believe that's correct.
that
And we
correct?
also added,
Well, I know within the corporate act, it is at you guys' discretion to increase the amount of meetings you have a month, but it is illegal for you guys to give yourself a raise in stipend.
Also, to my understanding, all the staff got a raise.
Okay.
So with
Okay.
that being said,
Well, goes back to the budgets. If the budget has.
Do you guys have a
If the
budget?
budget has an allocated set amount that's not being used, then the particular body that's allocated for it can use their discretion to move it around. And whether you agree or not, doesn't matter. It's true.
that's not what the corporate act says. The corporate act says that your raise and stipend will be approved by council.
Okay. Okay. We look forward to looking at that budget. We look forward to approving it either way, but you had it right. It's on the Corporate Board Act. You're violating the law now.
Yes,
Got it?
absolutely.
Okay. No other questions?
Can I say something? In regards to if they did give themselves a raise, my gosh, $150 a month is what they get paid for doing what they do. And giving
No,
themselves a raise,
if
I
they don't
realize
have- if
if
they
it's
can't
against the
show any
corporate board, then
justification, if
this
they
is
can't
something that we do need to set before council and maybe resolve, take care of it. And if it's something that can be taken care of, then let's.
Well, it
put
should have been brought to
it
council
before the
before it was
council.
approved by the corporate board and before they started paying themselves more money.
I understand what you're saying.
They're violating
I
the
understand that.
corporate act.
Well, let's remedy that then. Let's take care of that. Let's give them that raise if we feel like they need it. I mean, this is a corporate board.
What, give somebody a raise after they've already violated
And
the
like I
act?
said, they make $150 a month for doing what they do. And they volunteer a lot of their hours.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Can I add something to that? I
Yeah.
don't think the corporate board is is getting a profit right now. I think the ones that drive in need to get mileage though when they do that. I don't think we need to give them stipends. We need to give people that drive in mileage. The ones that are already on here, Eddie and Jamie, they don't need a stipend because they're working here and getting paid anyway. But like John Adair, Eldine, and Adam, they probably need to get mileage.
Well,
That's my opinion.
and you're entitled to your opinion, but back to this resolution, I don't think there has been any compensation made because the resolution hasn't been passed. It was just put on the table and voted on. I don't think the resolution's ever been passed yet, has it? Been even
There's no
drafted.
No.
So I think it's, a little premature. So nobody's got paid any money yet, just for the record. So anyway, that's that
But,
part.
but yes, it went from 150 to 250, 300. Okay. All right. All right.
It wasn't 300 a meeting, was it?
It was
don't
already
remember.
150 a meeting. He said it was increased by 150, so that's
That-
$300
I don't
a
That's
meeting.
what I
remember
think,
that.
yeah.
I don't remember it being that, was it?
I got that much.
Okay.
It hasn't been paid, nobody's been paid anything yet.
No.
I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't there.
But I'm just
Mr. Wachatche,
stating if-
seemed to think I was there.
If you guys had
The minutes state that you were there, sir.
No,
It states that you did leave the meeting for a little bit to go to another meeting, but you did return.
no, and I had to leave and be gone. So that all took place after I was gone. That was the day that Chief and I was down to Tahlequah with the mayor, taking pictures, went back. Chief stayed there, I left, and I had to leave. So I wasn't there. I didn't know that it was brought up, it wasn't even on the agenda, as far as I know. But anyway, we can hash that all out, and everybody's entitled whether we get compensated or not, your opinion, so.
Actually, I don't recall the actual vote for
The
that.
treasurer, I think
We
the
talked
treasurer.
about it.
Was the
It was
treasurer- is the
after I
treasurer here?
left, so don't include me on that. Wait a minute.
Is the corporate board treasurer here today? Eldine Stevens, is she here? She was instrumental in the vote, wasn't she? As I recollect, she even was in part of the motion. So I think some of these financial
Okay.
questions could be directed to our treasurer.
Can we do that? Directed to the treasurer? The only thing is 4 years. 4 years, no jobs, no revenue, nothing. So, and you're passing this along the way. What kind of deal is that? Okay, we're gonna forensic audit. Let's go. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Randall, for that. I want to address this first, Chief, since I'm kind of the one that brought this in here. About 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, we discovered a lot of money tiptoed out of our tribe. There had never been an audit, a closeout of the casino. I think one of the former corporate board members is here to help discover this stuff. So we decided that we needed to get an audit, and we asked for a forensics audit. It was voted down the first time I brought it to the floor. Unanimously voted down to do a forensics audit. We brought it again to the floor at Muskogee. We had a meeting in Muskogee. And there was a tie vote on it at that time. And I think the chief broke the tie and said not to have a forensics audit. So finally, when we went live on television like we are now, we had a vote, and it was at, we were down at Black Gum. And then it passed to vote to have a forensics audit. The treasurer signed the contract, and we went to phase 1 of forensics audit. Right here in front of me is what $153 million looks like on paper that tiptoed in and out of here in phase 1 of forensics audit. Now we're sitting here arguing around over $200 or $300 and what the corporate board done this, done this. This was in a 4-year period from just 2 accounts, Gen Fund and the casino account. And the gentleman that's here today is going to tell us how to move forward in phase 2. This council voted to move forward in phase 2 of the forensics audit. Now, a lot of this is casino money, the former casino money. As everybody knows, day before yesterday, the opportunity for us to open up another casino just came about. Since that this is a reservation now, we can start our casino open tomorrow, as far as I'm concerned, and that's kind of the plans for the brew pub. But you know, there was a commission and there was a comptroller in place. It wasn't Finley and Cook, by the way. Now, some people that are involved in some of this tiptoeing out of here have already gone on to get their reward, but there's still some people that are alive. And there was a gaming commission involved to oversight this money. Now we're talking millions here. We're not talking $300 or $400 like you guys been arguing around over the corporate board here. Millions, more money than we got from CARES Act. Had this been had a watchdog over it, we might be able to give out more of those checks that we did to our exclusive members. But no, this went out and lined somebody's pockets, very, very healthy. And there's some people around that's still responsible that was overseeing this, comptrollers, managers, commissioners. A few years ago, Chief was a chairman of the gaming commissioner before this ever took place. What year was the last year you was gaming commissioner, Chief? 2012. So this all took place shortly after he left here. So I'm not implicating him at all in this, but during his tenure as the chairman of the gaming commission, he made a statement to the corporate board one night that he noticed some shaving of numbers coming out of during his tenure. And I would like for you to explain to what you told the corporate board, went on record, that you witnessed in your tenure as chairman of the gaming commission from a former assistant chief that was at that time. Would you want to go ahead and tell them what you caught him doing at that time?
Say that again. Say what you just said.
Tell the people out here what you explained to the corporate board in 2016 when you were the chairman of the corporate board, assistant chief, that you caught as the gaming commissioner prior to 2012, when the casino was going on, you said you witnessed numbers being shaved off of the machines. And you presented the former assistant chief about that at that time. Would you share with us what you were told by him when you brought that to his attention?
He said it all. He said it all. That's exactly what happened. Shared that information with the chief at that time.
You, as the gaming commission, chairman of the gaming commission, caught the former assistant chief shaving the numbers coming out of those machines. And that time frame.
Now, before you take off and running with
I'm
this,
just going to tell what you said.
You get it right first. You get it right. You're leading this on. You're not saying exactly.
I'm having you an opportunity to say it right now.
I am. Just have a seat.
You got
I
the
will.
floor. Go ahead.
Well, you go ahead and sit down then. The issue was, and it never fully transpired. There was mechanisms in place that were beyond our control, and at the time, what we witnessed was one thing, one count, and what was said was another count. And as you follow the chain of command, at that time, mine was with the chief, so I turned the information over to the chief at that time. So there we have it.
What information did you turn over is what I'm asking you.
That there was differences in what the machine production was versus what was being accounted for.
Okay. And that's all you did as the gaming commissioner? That's all your responsibility was?
At that time, yes.
So you witnessed theft being done, but you didn't do anything about it?
I can't say I witnessed theft.
Huh?
I can't say that. Just like whenever we look at everything else, we said a while ago that the policies and procedures is one thing and we're doing something different. That's not witnessing. Are you witnessing unlawful activities?
Here's what you told the corporate board, if you want me, here's what you said. You caught the assistant chief shaving numbers and you said, hey, your numbers aren't matching up with what's coming out of these machines. And I said, what did he say? And you told the witness to the corporate board there that night, said he told me to keep my mouth shut and mind my own business, so I wanted to keep my job. That's what you said.
Boy, you're putting a lot of words that are untrue in people's mouths right here.
We got
You're doing
you
it
went
right
on
now.
record. You went on record in a corporate board meeting saying that, Joe. I said, what'd you do? He said, I went and told the chief.
Well,
No, that's what you said.
that's it.
So now today, moving forward to 2012 to 2016, here's 153 million of your money, your people's money, all of our people's money that tiptoed in and out of here. Now, there's still people alive that knows where this money went to. We got a young man we brought in here that started the forensics audit, phase 1, and this council right here voted to move on phase 2. Everybody agree with that?
Right.
So I'm going to tell you something, people, and this might offend a lot of people, but I'm going to tell you how I am. If you're not willing at this table, don't be offended, to find out where this money went to, you don't deserve to sit at this table. Now, come up here, Mr. Olson, and tell us.
I'd just like to touch on something too. I have the actual report that was sent out right here, and I'd like to read it to y'all right here, just to clarify what the assistant chief is saying right here. This is work paper number 1, detailed listings of all credits, i.e., example given, deposits and debits, i.e., disbursements, for the casino, general fund, and the corporate board accounts, sorted in chronological order. We documented over $153 million in deposits and disbursements for the examination period. Now, he keeps saying that $153 million tiptoed out of here. They have that listed right here, that there was $153 million in deposits and disbursements that they have record of. Work paper number 2, summaries of deposits into the general fund bank account. We documented over 43 million. If you're out there watching, write 43 million down, please. Work summary of disbursements from the general fund bank account, we documented over $43 million in disbursements. So right there, they had $43 million in deposits and $43 million in disbursements. Pretty equal right there. Summary of deposits into the gaming operations bank account, we documented over $31 million in deposits. Summary of disbursements for gaming operations bank account, we documented over $32 million in disbursements. So that's right there. They only brought in 31 million, but somehow they dispersed 32 million out right there. So that's a question right there. But summary of deposits into the corporate authority bank account, we documented over $1.8 million in deposits. Summary of disbursements from the corporate board bank account, we documented over 1.8 in disbursements. So looking at this right here, every number that of the 153 was in deposits and disbursements, so it's all been accounted for. They just have to go in and find out exactly how it's spent. So, it's being said that $153 million is missing. Well, they have documentation that it was deposited and dispersed. The only thing that I can see in this report is how do they get 31 million made and they dispersed 32 million? That's the only question that I can come up with reading this whole report right here. So for him to be sitting up here and saying that, there's $153 million missing, the only thing I can say is, he just don't understand the report.
Excuse me, I want the record clear that I never said there was $53 million missing.
I want to say something also, right quickly. I want to verify Jamie's comment because someone told me, go talk to the gaming commissioner at that time, and it was Joe Bunch. And I said, what did you do about that? And he said, I talked to the chief. I said, what did you do after that? He said, I did my duty. I talked to the chief. I said, you didn't do anything else? He said, no. I said, what about calling an investigation or FBI? He said, no, I did my duty.
Good morning, Chief, Assistant Chief, and council members. Would it be okay if I remove this? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time this morning. We started this project back in 2018, and so it's been a little bit of time since then. But I'll clarify what we did in phase one so that everyone's on the same page, what phase two might look like, and seek input as part of that process. To make sure that everyone's on the same page. And at the end of the day, oftentimes what I get involved in is just providing peace of mind. There are questions about how monies were used or if all monies are accounted for. And so myself, my firm, my practice helps with answering those questions and providing peace of mind. We provide the facts to support or refute concerns. In front of you, I laid a short PowerPoint to kind of go through what had been done to date. And just by way of background, on this page here, you'll see a little bit about Eide Bailly. Eide Bailly is a CPA firm, top 25 in the country, 40 plus offices. We have multiple offices here in the state of Oklahoma. We have 20 dedicated forensic accounting professionals in our practice. And by the way, forensic accounting, what does that mean? Just to make sure we're on the same page. That means we're looking at past financial transactions for a specific purpose, right? So we're just looking at past transactions for a purpose. In this case, it's to account for monies, right? And so if you look at the next page where it says background of engagement, you're going to see what we were asked to do as part of phase one. And we were originally engaged on September 10th, 2018 to provide forensic accounting services. And what we're asked to do is provide common forensic accounting procedures related to the casino account, General Fund, and Corporate Authority Board. What we propose is using a phased approach because we have to lay the foundation of, if the question is account for the monies, you need to start with first documenting all the transactions with the bank accounts for these specific areas. So phase one consisted of documenting, quantifying, and summarizing the financial transactions within the casino from a January 2012 through September 2014 time period. Same thing for the general fund. And then we looked at the Corporate Authority Board from February 2016 through July 2017. And from that approach, you're going to see the next page, phase one. You're going to see a summary of essentially that first phase, which is we primarily documented, quantified, and summarized all the bank deposits and disbursements from those accounts that we had in our possession. The result of performing in phase one resulted in a 782-page report, which included a narrative and 12 work papers that detail and summarize the financial transactions. Of those 12 work papers, we provide a complete listing of all bank transactions that we looked at, which all bank transactions equaled a little over 153 million. So that is a total of deposits and disbursements for that time period that we looked at for the casino, general fund, and corporate authority board. From that first work paper, we have several summaries related to deposits and disbursements. Now, the importance of this first phase is to document the financial transactions, so then we can have a conversation about, here are the financial transactions coming into the accounts, here's the transactions coming out of these accounts. What do the next steps look like? Where should we look? What questions are there from that first phase for us to do a deeper dive? For example, oftentimes we're asked, are all monies that came in accounted for? Well, right now, all we know is we know that X dollars went into these accounts. That doesn't necessarily mean that all dollars that should have been deposited were deposited. So you have to go to that next step, which is looking at supporting documentation to ensure that if, and I'll just random example, if $100 was supposed to be receipted in, that we have $100 deposit. Because right now, all we have is a $100 deposit, right? So the next step, the next phase would include looking at supporting documentation to make sure that whatever should have been deposited ultimately was deposited into the accounts. The same thing on the disbursement side, where now we've documented all the funds leaving the accounts. The question then becomes, were they leaving for appropriate purposes? Are they in accordance with your policy, procedures, resolutions, and so forth? That part has not been done. That'd be a phase two part of that process. Same thing with, for example, if we're talking payroll or employee advances, are all those approved, appropriate, and were they repaid? If they weren't repaid, why not, and so forth. So you'll see here, I created after the phase one slide, there's a phase two recommendations slide there, and this was included as part of that original narrative from phase one, which is working with appropriate personnel with the tribe about looking for concerns or questions related to the 782 pages of financial transactions that we have. Because maybe within the work papers that were provided, there are some questions, concerns. If there aren't, then what we could do potentially is just apply certain common forensic accounting procedures to give that level of comfort over, for example, deposits. You know, on the casino side, we would look at supporting documentation for a period of time to see, okay, what monies were coming in? Can we see the corresponding deposit? And does it look like it's a one-for-one match? That, yes, everything that came in was deposited. And the same thing on the disbursement side, looking to ensure that everything was appropriately approved and it's being paid for an appropriate expense. And so as part of phase two process, you know, we did provide several recommendations, and I talked a little bit about them already, which is reconciliation of cash being receipted in, verification of certain disbursements being paid out. One thing that we didn't have access to during this process was a payroll account. Certainly there are a lot of monies going to the payroll account. There may be some reason to look at that payroll account to ensure that everyone who was paid in accordance with whatever the agreed upon hourly rate or salary amount was, looking at employee advances like I mentioned and so forth. And so we're at that point on phase two, we have some ideas on our end what we would commonly do for an organization with like yours with the questions you may have related to general fund, casino, and corporate authority board. But we also would like to see guidance from the appropriate personnel of what concerns do you have when you do look at these transactions, because that would help narrow the scope. And by narrowing the scope, that narrows time on our end, which narrows fees. And we want to make sure we're providing value, right? In that we address the questions, and our job is to fact find. So, and only to fact find. So we're here to tell you what the financial information tells or shows in accordance with policies, procedures, resolutions, and so forth, and provide that clarity and peace of mind over financial transactions of concern. And so what I put here as far as a phase 2 timeline, we're ready to assist when you would like us to assist. Typical turnaround is probably somewhere between 2 to 3 months, depending upon how we can get records electronically and so forth, or how much work would be done on site. But we're at a point of trying to narrow and focus that scope to make sure that we're achieving the objectives of you all, and making sure that we're on the same page of what questions you have, and so we can provide the value and the facts about what has transpired. Any questions?
Yeah, I got some questions. Looking through these disbursements, it's obvious to see where a lot of this money went to on a very small disbursement scale. I mean, there's 100 here, 200 there, and stuff like that, and that's pretty much documented. But there's some large disbursements that went out of here on a monthly basis in 5-figure amounts. In my opinion, those are very questionable, because there's names on here and accounts on here. I just recently, Chief made it earlier clear that his name was taken off. I had to go up there at the bank, and there was like 19 counts up there that we didn't even have any idea existed, from this time period here. So I think there's some very substantial disbursements here that are very questionable. The small ones, I think it'd be very time consuming when we already know where they went to, elder checks, things of that nature. I don't think there's use wasting time on that. But these large disbursements that are in the 5-figure range, and I won't disclose any of those amounts here, but I think they need to be looked into. And it would appear to me that the comptroller at that time that was overseeing those going out should be able to shed some light on that. Is that correct?
Yeah, certainly an individual in that position should be able to provide some guidance as to what disbursements would be for. My hopes is that there would be underlying supporting documentation available so that we can actually see some underlying invoices, resolutions, policy procedures that would also support the disbursements. To your point about movement of funds, transfers, there do appear to be other accounts that we didn't have access to as part of phase 1. So phase 1 is only as good as the bank records that we received, right? And so, for example, I mentioned payroll. We did not have the payroll bank account. It appears there's a lot of transactions going back and forth between the accounts that we looked at. So there would be other accounts that we'd certainly want to take a look at if we wanted a level of comfort over, for example, and this is just an example. If there's $10,000 transferred from the casino fund to an account that we don't have, we wouldn't necessarily know how that 10,000 was used. So what we would want to do is ensure that we have a complete copy of all bank accounts,
Right.
so we can truly identify how funds were used.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I mean, if you've only audited a couple of departments and you haven't audited the other departments that money may be flowing through, how are you going to get anything accurate?
Right, and so again, the scope was limited to the general fund, casino, and the corporate authority board. And then when we see the transfers to the other accounts, the question then becomes, should those accounts be included in a
Yes.
follow-up review, right? Because we don't know how those funds are used until we see ultimately
Yes.
where that last check is dispersed and who was the beneficiary of that check.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I want to add also that Jason and his team were utilized at the corporate board one that gets all the flack around here. We discovered,
Come
the
on,
former
Jamie.
corporate board members, a lot of questionable disbursements at KCTS in Tulsa. So we brought this gentleman and his team in for phase one, and they discovered a lot of things that we weren't aware of, and so we used them on phase two. They're very thorough. In phase two, they started trying to find where that money went to, and you have to ask questions, individuals. Some of those individuals failed to answer, didn't want to talk. They lawyered up. And so then we turned that over, and if some of you still on the council at that time, we turned their findings over. We found all we needed to find out from them. And we turned that over to the officials, and we were accused of turning that over, and it's like making an atomic bomb, if somebody remembers that from a former AG we had here. And we got ridiculed for trying to right a wrong. And today that is still in investigation. The U.S. Attorney has assured me that they haven't stopped moving forward on your findings. So I appreciate everything you did up there. It was very good, and hopefully there'll be some restitution and some justice for the money that disappeared up there. So we voted to move forward in phase two, and I've asked all the questions I need to ask. We'll go ahead.
So with my understanding of what the question is that I just asked him just a few moments ago, and then in correlation to a comment that you had earlier, Jamie, you had talked about the big disbursements that had gone. There were like big monthly amounts that moved. Yeah, 5-figure amounts. I think the smaller amounts are just as important because they can add up to be as much as what the big amounts are. So I don't think that we should exempt any account that money has flowed into. I think it should be everything.
The question that I have basically is, I was always under the assumption that the treasurer knew everything that was going on with finances in all departments. And I realized that, LMA, your hands were tied a lot of times in a lot of different areas. And to me, that would be the best case scenario, is for the treasurer of a tribe to know where every penny is going and every penny that's coming in, if that makes any sense to you guys.
Yeah. So if you're exempting your treasurer and you're tying her hands and you're not giving her full reign to everything it is that she needs to know, all of the monies that are there moving. If you wipe out your treasurer, then obviously there's going to be money moving in places that it shouldn't be moving in. So I also think that in a lot of instances, Miss LMA's hands were completely tied. Her duties were taken from her.
And I also agree with Councilor Tidwell. We should look at all of the accounts and the disbursements, because reviewing that right there was some folks received funds, like $300, and I guess probably in the morning, and then turned around and received $300 again in the afternoon or something. I mean, because they was receiving funds multiple times a day sometimes, and some of them was 300, some was 100, some was 1,000. So so it for Assistant Chief to say just looking at the bigger numbers, I don't agree with that. I think we need to look at everything, because there was folks that were receiving funds, anywhere from $100, multiple times a day. Looking through that right there, from what I
think
can
what
see.
you're talking about are the pay advances. Like pay advances. I've also looked into some of the pay
It looks like
advances.
they might have been at committee meetings or something like that.
But I've looked into some of the
Yeah.
pay advances, and I cannot find where any of those pay advances were ever repaid. I was told they were forgiven. So I don't think that should ever occur. If you're getting a pay advance, it needs to be paid back. I don't care if you're council. I don't care if you're a regular employee. I don't care if you're president of the United States. If you take out a pay advance within monies that belong to a tribe, that money should be paid back regardless.
I appreciate you, Mr. Wakachi, because that's exactly what I want to hear you to say. We go through it all. Thank you.
And there was some on the council that were getting like $1,500 3-4 times a month.
Additionally.
Yeah.
One of the things that we desperately need to do when this is completed, and I believe that it will be completed, because we started this when I first came on council that very first day, when we fired the accountants that were in place because they weren't doing their job. And when we started this ball rolling, I think eventually we're going to come to that point to where we can give account for our finances, because, and a part of that is that process of maybe micromanaging to a certain point, the different departments, but having policies in place in regards to how the different departments account for the money coming in and the money going out. That just makes sense.
Finley and Cook will solve all this kind of stuff with this comptroller and accounting that everybody's mad about.
Who did I get permission from to speak? I tell you what, people, I was here when all this stuff was going on. I know firsthand just exactly what went on. They were stealing money, coming in and going. Nobody was responsible for anything. The chief and whoever would go to this gentleman right here, the bookkeeper there, and get whatever kind of money they wanted to get and just go on with it. I don't know where he kept the books, how much they walked away with or nothing. I have no idea. But we bring it up to the council meeting, the chief just says, move on. Bless his soul, he's dead now. But anyway, you people don't even have any idea what's been going on with this tribe. And it's a damn wonder that we're even still in existence, to tell you the truth about it. And if we don't get our act together, we're going to be down the drain. And you take my word for it.
Thank you, Mayor.
And I can see here, and I believe I see people here that's ready to get this thing on track and go with it.
Absolutely.
But that's what's going to have to happen, people. We're not back in the dark ages anymore. We're right up front. And don't think we're not. We're the main target for every damn fool in the country. And if you think otherwise, you got another thing coming. There you go. Take it
Thank
for
you,
whatever
Mayor.
it's worth. But I know the answers, people, because I was here.
Well, there's your first witness, but when can you start? You said you could start right away.
Yeah, so what I would like to do is to get a better handle on the rest of the accounts that we don't have access to or we didn't receive initially, because it sounds like everyone's in agreement that we should do that, and that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So what I'd like to do is to have someone on your end that would be my point of contact, so I could work with that person to get a complete list of all the accounts that we didn't have for the time period, take a look at what that looks like, and then come back with an identified scope, number of hours, and related fees for moving on with phase 2, so that way there's no surprises on anyone's end. And making sure we're covering everything that everyone would like to see from this forensic audit, the phase 2.
I would like to be included on like the email traffic and everything of any reports, because I mean, as of seeing this report right here, I was sitting out there in November of 2018. I was one of them out there whenever Assistant Chief gave this report and said $153 million was missing. So I was one of them out there that was yelling, we need to complete this audit, we need to do this, we need to do that. So, and to read this report, it does not say that it was missing. It states that there was $76 million that was in deposits, and then 77 million that was in disbursements. So I would just like to be included on any reports or anything like that, so I can review it myself and get a picture of it myself too.
Yeah, to address that, a couple things we could consider for everyone here. One is to include all council members on that type of communication. And two, one thing that we've done in the past too is if there's concerns of certain council members from the information from phase 1, be more than happy to have a conversation. Maybe we could set up interviews to talk about those concerns to make sure that we try to leave no stone unturned, I guess, if you will. If that makes sense to you
Yeah, I
folks.
think that would be good for everybody, and the reason that I say that is because there's been a turnover in council since this very first began. And just to say for me, and since I don't understand everything in there, and it would take me some time if I just sat down and studied on my own, whereas opposed to, I probably could get the answers from you if you know what I mean? It's just, I think that we all need to have that meeting, and we all need to be able to express our concerns and our questions and everything. And then that way we're up to speed, and then we'll know more about what's going on with phase 2. We'll understand it even better once we get to that completion. And there won't
Okay.
be no arguing back and forth.
All right. All right. Well, thank you for that. And when did you say you were going to say? A couple weeks?
So what I'll do, based on our conversation here today, by the end of next week, I'll send, I guess I'm not sure to whom yet, but I'll send a proposed plan for phase 2, inclusive of conducting the interviews, and looking in identifying all the rest of the bank accounts that we don't have access to at this point in time or during phase 1, and kind of lay out a plan of what we're going to do as part of phase 2, an estimate of hours and related fees. That way everyone's on the same page so that we're making the right decision together, I
Right.
guess, if you will.
Do we need a resolution to go ahead and enter in? Yeah, I know, but I just want to make sure that we don't need a resolution for him to go more in depth. We're good. We're good.
Excuse me, was his request to find to appoint somebody as the, and also.
As a treasurer, I could do that.
But also you would have her, because she knows the other informations, like the yes, those two needs to be, yeah. Yes, minutes and the.
So what I may ask is, if LMA, if you feel be the point of contact, I'll have some requests from you early next week on some additional information that we'll need, just so we can put together a pretty detailed planned approach to phase 2. So we kind of have a good understanding as to what kind of task we're up against, and we can provide you kind of that detailed work plan for end of next week. And then if the plan makes sense to everyone, we'll get started right away.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, one more question before you go. Now, this thing says one thing, and are you going to go back over all the information? In other words, general funds, casino, as well as the corporate board as well?
Yeah.
Are you just going over the ones that's lacking? Because, there have the 3, the casino operations was the one that they paid out more than they brought in. So
yeah. So yeah, I think I understand your question, and just so I make sure, we'll still be looking at the transactions that we looked at here, just in more detail, because we're going to look at, look for underlying supporting records to support certain transactions of question from what we did in phase 1. And then in addition to that, the other accounts that we didn't have access to at the time, we'll be doing similar to phase 1, document activity, and then drilling into some of those more items in question to make sure that there's underlying supporting documentation, that it makes sense for the transaction. I think I answered your question, but if I didn't, I want to make sure I do. Did that answer?
All right, we'll get out of it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Jason, thank you for making the trip down here. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, a couple of things. We're getting ready. That's the end of the reports to council. That's the end of the reports to council. No more?
I received a phone call yesterday evening in request to a presentation from Bacone College, and I don't have my glasses on, so I don't know if Bacone's here to do the presentation. Does anyone see anyone from Bacone here?
They had contacted, Dr. Clark texted me and wanted to know if he had made the agenda, and I told him, no, he wasn't on the agenda, so I didn't know that they wanted to be here today.
Okay, well, I just got the call yesterday evening and I said, well, if they're here, we could squeeze
Yeah, if
them
they're
in.
here, let them speak.
So, but
Right
I don't
here.
see anyone.
Question.
Okay,
They were at our meeting, the education meeting, and I'm just wondering what else more would they want? We gave them all the information, and because we hadn't even gone over that, the documents that they gave us, and we're not ready for them. So I didn't understand why they came every meeting we've been having. And so we haven't had time to finish it. The board hasn't. And so I just don't understand what more they want.
What are they seeking?
Well, they gave a proposal to the tribe to, for some of the CARES Act funding. I think one of the co-chairmen is here for the committee, and you were at the meeting too, weren't you?
Yeah.
So they made their presentation, and have you all got they give you your contact information to the committee members, right? Whoever to contact over there. So
Right,
moving
yeah.
forward. So probably what needs to happen, the people that are involved with the committee should get in some kind of dialogue or something with whoever's there. I can't remember who all was at your meeting. I wasn't there. Jerome or Dr.
Yeah,
Clark.
they were all there.
And let them know what, just contact them, say, we'll be contacting you when we're ready to move. That's what I would say.
That's pretty
Right.
much what we told.
Okay, then I think you probably need to, maybe didn't make it quite clear enough to them or something.
Linda, you're here, education she's our co-counsel, chairman. And, but they're I gave some of the councils a copy of this proposal. And they're wanting us to give them $1 million from us, the education money. So we agreed, the committee agreed not to decide that because they're wanting so much.
okay,
So,
rather than discuss that here out in the public, if we have some other things we need to talk about that, can we do that in a executive session or something of that nature? Because we don't want to talk too much about monies and way we're going to do things
No,
and so
because
on.
people need to know where the money is going, if it's gonna go somewhere.
Well, I think this is education dollars that we allocated to the education
Right.
committee, and that's
So-
they should be able to handle that.
right.
Yeah,
then
you guys, you
Give
got,
her a chance to explain.
Yes.
okay.
All right. They attended our very first education meeting after we got allocation from the CARES Act. Their proposal is they want to submit to the Tahlequah tribe to allocate $1 million, $500,000 for scholarships, general scholarships, $500,000 to fund the nursing program, to put it back into place at Bacone. That's what they're asking. We had our second meeting. In fact, they just gave us that proposal 2 weeks ago. This week, we had our education meeting that we were going to start looking at how many, we're going to fund laptops, we're going to fund Wi-Fi, startup Wi-Fi for our educational students, not only our elementary, middle school, and high school and college, but non-traditional students, such as adults who want to go back to college and vocational people. We're funding all that. We're working on all that once we get our numbers of how many exclusive
Right,
children
that's
that we
what
have.
we're waiting on from her office.
Well, they came back last week and they weren't invited, to be quite honest, but they all showed up, 6 of them. And after they left, the president did come also, and he introduced, but what they're doing is they're pushing money because they want the Tahlequah tribe to donate $1 million so they can have that leverage to go to the other tribes that are in collaboration so that they can say, well, look what look what the Katuas did. So can the Otos do something? Can the Cheyenne? Can the Arapaho? So that's basically what they were doing. But the young lady that's in charge of academic procedures did stay back after everybody left, apologize because she said, we were told to be here this morning. And she said, we apologize because we were told to be here and they caught us off guard. And I told them that morning. I said, I'm glad that you're here. I just told them I'm glad that you are here, but we have not had a chance to really talk about this proposal. And I said, when we decide what we need to do, we will contact our council and they will contact you. So they
you
all,
guys,
they all
whenever
left.
they gave you guys the proposal, you didn't give them like, just say for instance, like any date and say, give us until this such and such time, and then after
Mhm.
that, we will correspond back with
They
you?
want
or-
to be able to start everything for the spring semesters, what they're looking at.
So they have their deadline.
No, they
So
don't
they're-
have their deadline. They just want us to be the first to donate $1 million.
Okay.
So they can use that as leverage to go with the other tribes that are in collaboration with Bacone.
Yeah.
So the president is aware that we were not expecting them last Wednesday.
Okay.
But only one person, Ms. Harjo from Bacone, did apologize because she knew that they had caught us off guard. And she
And
said, we were
what were-
told to be here this morning. which
I
is
asked
Wednesday.
Adeline when she was telling me about it, what were we supposed to get out of it? I mean, besides the, scholarships, like as in, were we paying for scholarships?
Well, they wanted us to donate 500,000 to go into their general scholarship fund, so anybody going to Bacone could receive fundings. But
Okay,
then they want half of that 1 million to help fund the nursing program that they want to put back in place.
oh, okay, not exclusive Katuas.
No, because they're only
Okay.
going to start with a cohort of 10. So we may not have a Katua student attend the nursing program.
Okay, so basically we were going to be supporting the nursing program.
That's what they want.
I think how this started was, it was a suggestion to help our children that want to attend
Right.
Bacone
Right.
this fall. But I don't know if y'all have got the data, have how many graduating. I mean, in some way, this money has to help benefit our tribe for education that they normally wouldn't get. So,
Well, we only had two Katua students that attended Bacone last year.
well, and that's probably understandable
Mhm.
with the high tuition and fees and stuff they
Mhm.
had. But I see their point of view, but I see ours too. We're
Mhm.
trying to help our kids,
Right.
but we've got to spend the money. So
Mhm.
if we
Right.
pay for scholarships or something over there,
Mhm.
it's a way to spend the money directly to this. I think you guys have already got a kind of a number of how many computers and things of that nature you're going to buy. I understand just a little bit of a dialogue. You got a lot of children in our area that it's going to be
Mhm.
probably doing education a little differently this fall than they have
Yes.
been in the past. So, I mean, you're an instructor, Peggy is, so those are things that you're looking at, and I understand. So what I would do, recommend, I would contact whoever the contact person is over there. Like I said, Dr. Clarkson, I might say, when we're ready for you,
Mhm.
if we can figure out how we want to do this, then we'll let you know.
Mhm.
Okay, Linda, thank you for that. Incidentally, I'm just going to make one brief comment and go from there, but on the 6th, I did recommend that we do a foundation to NSU as well as Bacone for $1 million. I don't know where that came from as far as them wanting you to do that. I haven't been in contact with them since. But anyway, thank you for that. And the foundation, I think, would be geared towards just our native tribal youth to go to school there if they were interested in it. But it didn't get too good of a response. So anyway, thank you for that. Yeah.
And I don't
Looking
know,
on,
Chief,
yes.
would the scholarships even be allowed for the COVID funds, though? I know the assistance with the nursing program would, but I mean, would I'd have to look that up and see and check around to see if it would even be allowable for scholarships to be,
Well,
if we donated funds to them.
Please, we'll
Scholarships would
definitely
even-
have to
Once we
look at
give
that
them the money,
because
it's up
let's
to
see
them
what.
they do with it, if we
let-
do.
let's see what Finley and Cook suggests on that, how we get to that point. Okay, thank you. All right, next item, moving right along, public forum.
Council, I'm going to just ask those that come to public forum to sign the sheet. Since we didn't have one over there at the table, Amanda did stress there's a few that want to address the council at this time, so I'll just lay the sheet over there and let them, and they can come in as they want to present a topic to the council.
I'm going to sit up here with Matt for support.
Get it all back together.
Good morning. Okay. Good morning, council, chief, tribal members, those on the online feed. CO. To those who sit before me today, I would like to introduce myself. To those I haven't had the privilege of meeting yet, my name is Matt Gertie. I'm a professional artist in sculpture. I'm a father. I'm a son, a nephew, a friend, and equally important today, I was designated a 2016 tradition keeper for this tribe in the art of stone carving. I come before you today to introduce the UKB Tradition Keepers organization. As chairman-elect of our group, it is my duty to lead our meetings that we have been having the past month. We are getting formalized with officers already voted on. I'll give you Richard Shade as our co-chairman, Marcella Foreman as a secretary, Lila Killer as treasurer, respectively. We're in the early stages of where we would like to go to educate the public and, most importantly, our own tribal members. We are meeting this Thursday to work on a resolution to be presented to you by July 20th of 2020. We have a motto, and it is keeping tradition alive. We intend to bridge gaps and connect our tribal members with the things our ancestors did as of old. To show who we are as Kituwa people, we would appreciate your support, council. There are 17 tradition keepers listed. Each one of us are unique in our own respective God-given art or skill. Some of us are language experts. We are losing some every year, and with that goes all that knowledge. As elected tradition keepers, we want to control our own destiny with respect to the tribe as ambassadors through our art and education, but we can't do it alone. My career as an artist has brought me to many places I hold dear to my heart. One of them is here in front of you. I've met many people and I'm proud to be in many art collections. My main craft is soapstone carving from the mountains of Appalachia, where our ancestors gathered their materials I use today. I started carving as a hobby that turned into a necessity for our tribe as a lost art. Throughout my career, I've noticed no one is carving in our respective district. It's true, without art and culture, we cease to exist as a people. With 17 tradition keepers at your disposal, we strive to keep tradition alive, to be accurate, accountable representatives of the tribe through our art. Thank you. What else?
Uh-oh. All right. I'm going to read this that I had handed out to you guys. Honorable Council, I've been approached and asked to sponsor a newly formed committee made up of UKB traditional keepers. I have agreed to assist them in any way possible. I would like to bring to your attention that our traditional keepers are suffering great hardships due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Our traditional keepers formed this committee and have done well structuring it in a short period of time. They've met a few times with very good results in dialogue. Our traditional keepers have assessed where they are now and where they would like to go in the future. They have a vision. They've created a motto, and I think that their motto is very appropriate. And he just said it a while ago, keeping tradition alive. Since the pandemic has begun, our talented and dedicated traditional keepers have experienced a shortage of supplies. They have experienced inflated pricing, delayed shipments, and also denied art calls. The obstacles that our traditional keepers have experienced are just a few components that keep our traditionalists in business and our tradition spry. Another thing that I would like to interject into this is that recently one of our UKB TKs had been denied by Purchasing Solutions International the possibility to submit artwork for examination. A letter which I have seen myself stated per the committee's email. They have verified with Cherokee Nation's registration department that you relinquished Cherokee Nation citizenship. Even if you have a blue card, it's not valid according to CNO. This person has been a UKB member since 2004 and has submitted and sold artwork to Purchasing Solutions in prior years. Frankly, me, in my opinion, I don't like treatment of this fashion toward our Katuas, our Cherokee Katuas. I don't appreciate it. I'm very impressed with our UKB traditional keepers. They're filled with passion, persistence, and desire to keep our culture and traditions alive. At the same time, I am appalled at the distasteful treatment that Cherokee Nation has chosen to take with our high blood quantum members. I think that we need to make great effort to support our traditional keepers and that they are not put into situations of having to be denied because they chose to be UKB. What I'm here for today, and like I said, I told him that I would support him in any way that I could. And I'm hoping that we can support our traditional keepers. We have gotten COVID funds, and these guys are experiencing real hardships right now. And if we want to keep our culture alive, keep our traditions alive, let them pass them on, let them teach, whatever it is that they need to do, I think that we as a council, we should support them as such. Bueno.
On that note, I will make a motion to support them any way we can. We need to ask our comptroller to see how we can do that.
Well, as I understand, you're going to bring a resolution for next council meeting, correct? Is that
We're
right?
gonna be meeting Thursday.
Beg your pardon?
We're gonna be meeting this Thursday.
Yeah, but you're going to present a resolution to
Yeah.
council.
Resolution.
Yeah, what they're gonna do, what they're in the midst of doing right now, they're in the midst of actually coming up with dollar amounts of what it is that they think they need to kick them off and keep them going. So they're gonna come forth with a resolution by the 20th to submit for this next month's
Right,
meeting.
that's what I understood. That's what I was asking. So we'll make a, well,
They
we
do
don't,
it now.
they don't have their numbers.
Well,
You know.
yeah, well, she's preparing the dollar amount
Yeah.
because they want to come to the council with a dollar amount. They don't want to just say, hey, just give us money when we want it. They want to come with a dollar amount and so,
I-
but they're preparing
I
it.
think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I would love to see that happen, and I would be very supportive. Let me know, and, I'd love to come to your meeting. In regards to Cherokee tradition, I'm putting together a book. I've been working on it for a long time in regards to our Cherokee people. I have a lot of pictures, but the Cherokee traditions, it's just like basket weaving and all of these other things. A lot of things are becoming a lost art. And our young people are very interested in this, and if we could put together teachers, instructors to do this, and a program through our Katuah tribe. That would be great.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And we have been doing that without help. We've been doing it on our own, representing Katuahs anyway. So it would be just a lot better if we had your.
Don't take off yet. I'm not finished with you.
Don't
I want to add that I've known this guy a long time, and he's a very good artist, and he has these tradition keepers and people that maybe aren't selected tradition keepers yet, and we got to keep this going. These folks set up, and this is how they make their income. And Matt is very hardworking at it. They were out there at the Ashoda Village, set up and promoting Katuah. And so I know that they have fell on hard times here, and so I want to support this 150% financially. We've got the money. We can put this money toward this because they have been affected by the COVID-19.
Yes.
So I say, bring your resolution at the next council meeting, and then we'll be. It's already going to be approved. I got a feeling. We just need to see your resolution, your numbers, and we want to support that committee moving forward any way we can. Thank you, Matt.
So
Peggy?
you're gonna sponsor that?
Yes,
Resolution.
I'll sponsor the
Be sure you
resolution
get
once
it-
they get it, once
Get
they get it completed.
Get it by the 20th is what,
Yes.
yeah, okay, yes.
When
Okay.
are we going to meet again? The council? So we're gonna. And in the meantime, how are they going to continue? They've been hit all this time already. That's all I'm concerned about, is that we're waiting a long time to support this.
I understand.
So,
Me too. I want to just like jump in and just give them everything that they need. They're requesting a little bit of time to be able to put their financials, their dollar amounts together, to know what it is that's going to help them continue on with what their jobs are for our tribe. So
I confer to what they asked for.
yeah.
Okay,
We do want to
okay.
go out to the districts and class, mainly up north and all over, and to go to the people and
Okay.
teach what we know.
In terms of electric utilities and things of that nature, be sure you visit with, have the committee members as needed, visit with, Jennifer's, organization as well, so they may be able to help out there.
Oh, okay.
I know we set aside some funds for that already, so yeah, thank you for that, yes.
Peggy, did you have something?
Yeah, I had a question about this letter right here. You talked about Purchasing Solutions International.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who are they? Who are those people? I mean, you made it sound like that they deny.
They are
or what?
they buy art for Cherokee Nation, like the art that goes into their casinos, different places like that. That's what I was saying. You know, they have purchased from him before. And
Okay, so now all of a sudden.
now all of a
they're
sudden,
not
yes,
purchasing from him.
they're refusing,
Because-
and they're saying that his blue card is not even, I mean,
They're
I don't know.
blackballing him. They're blackballing him because
Yes.
he's a Katuah. That's
yes,
basically what it is.
exactly. I mean, I just didn't want to outright say that, but I believe that.
I'll say it.
It's-
I'll say it.
Yeah. It's all of our Katuah artists. That's why we need to make sure we jump on board and we take care of these people, because Cherokee Nation has kicked them down the road, basically to say, and
Can I ask
There's a
question
lot
here?
of legalities involved with artwork and being real Cherokee, real American Indian, whatever. I have, like, when we were out in Cherokee, North Carolina, we met an artist there that couldn't sell his stuff in the casino. And at that point in time, the tribal council was working on trying to establish something for their people. And I didn't know this. I mean, I went through that casino looking for, Cherokee stuff, and there was nothing there that the local artists, made.
I got a question. I was told by a very reliable source, a CNO registered citizen, that on June 22nd of this year, whenever they had received their notification that their appeal was declined for our land and trust issue, that same day, a council member from that regime down there passed a resolution to take all of the Katua, they call them national treasures, off of their list. Have you heard anything about that?
I heard of something like that. Yeah, one of our colleagues, Albert Shea, mentioned something to that effect, that they went ahead and anybody who was UKB, they kicked them off.
They took their name off the list. They didn't take
Yes,
back
sir.
their little prizes or award, but they pulled their name off the list because they're Katua.
That's what I understood. However, we voted on our tradition keepers too. We want to control our destiny. And what we did is we want to make exclusive UKB tradition keepers in order to honor that plaque. Because we do have dual enrollment. We have 17 tradition keepers, but there's like 12 active, and there's 9 I need to get in touch with and to see where they're at as far as registration. That's we're getting legal.
That really hurt. That hurt us, when they took our people off their list down there. It just really.
This is
Can I
a
ask
God-given talent, so
one more question?
art is ours.
Is this committee that you're doing, are you developing what is considered a tradition that we want to keep? Are you making a list
Yeah,
of
what
what
we
it
want to do.
composes of?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
because it's not just art,
No.
it's not just this. There's a
Yeah, it's
lot of
language.
tradition.
Yeah, we're going out. We want to
Yeah.
go out and
Yeah.
teach. We have language, we have cook, we have speakers, and we have.
Okay, and people that actually cook, make
Yeah.
the traditional foods
Those are
and
my
things
favorite
like that.
ones.
Those
Yeah.
are the ones you enjoy, all the traditions.
This
So
this
that's
committee
what-
that has formed, these are a bunch of sharp people.
Okay.
You gotta
And
see
they
that.
are
You gotta
on,
see that.
yeah, they've moved a lot. Like I said, as far as dialogue and where it is that they are now and where they want to go,
We just
they're-
had- It's been a month.
yeah, they're doing really well.
We're realizing.
Great, thank you. Yes,
Thank you,
uh-huh,
Chief. Thank you,
yes.
Assistant Chief Counsel.
Is it still on? Thank you, Council. I just want to say that there's a lot of great things that have been happening for the UKB. And I thank the good Lord for that, because it's not for anything that we've done, it's because of God's grace. And I would just want to remind you that everybody sitting around this table is a servant of the people. You work for us, and the corporate board works for the tribe. So in essence, the corporate board works for the people as well. They have the same missions. I sent the council an email, which I guess Clint had read. I wasn't here that day. I outlined all the non-actions that the council had on the agenda or on their plate. But I know sometimes we just forget about what we're doing. We just come here month to month and forget about what was said. But I had asked a question on that email. Well, one was about the impeachment. Nothing had happened. And then the other was, I talked about 2 people that are on the corporate board right now who committed treason. That was in the impeachment. They tried to overthrow the corporate board. And also at one point in 2017, one of them was involved in overthrowing the corporate board, actually. So I had sent my rep an email telling him of all the things that this one person had done, that it had been disclosed in the first impeachment. This person made $70,000 in committees, boards, and commissions. And I know you read or heard it in the email, so I'm just repeating it. In the last impeachment hearing, it was, or in that same impeachment hearing, it was disclosed that $300 had been getting paid at the corporate board. And that had not been approved by the council because they used to get 150 for the Economic Development Authority. And then when they went to the corporate authority board, they just gave themselves a raise. So I guess history does repeat itself. So now the corporate board is giving themselves a stipend increase. So that amount of money can really build up really fast because this person that I sent the email to Jeff for he made $300 for each corporate board meeting, a total of $8,700 for 29 meetings. And some of those meetings were only like 5 minutes or 11 minutes. And, but my rep is the one that made the motion to put him back on the corporate board. So when I first came on council in 2015, I found a very corrupt corporate board. So now we put the same person back on there again. So I had said in my email that I wanted something to be done about those 2 people that are on there that were complicit in treason. And according to the Corporate Act, you cannot have a position like that if you broke the law. So it's against the code of ethics. And I liked everything you said before, Sharon, until you got to the part, well, give them a raise. You know, that shouldn't be. So, well, you didn't do that to Matt, Chief Bunch. And I also want to say that I don't appreciate coming to the meeting, having everybody talking at once. And that is the chairman's job, is to keep everything organized. I mean, I've had like 28 years of institutionalized type of learning. So I like rules to be followed, which is why I was very disgusted when I heard that the corporate board gave themselves a stipend increase, which is against the Corporate Act. And I know that Corporate Act from front to back. So if something is not done, then I will be forced to make a complaint through the AG's office, which is allowed in the Corporate Act. Thank you.
That's the Attorney General right over there. Approach him with that and see what he thinks about the whole thing.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, anybody else? We're after her, okay?
There's a resolution on your agenda that we are here in support of. So, we're the Jones family.
There's a resolution that you're here in support of. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I don't have the
Okay.
agenda in front of me to tell you what the name of it is. Public forum? Public forum, yes. We are here in support of the resolution.
To that resolution?
We're here in support of that resolution right there. We think it will benefit the tribe and the people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Benjamin.
Nope.
Push it up in. There you go.
Is it on now? All right. I will apologize because I didn't put my name on here, but as I was listening, as a Katua member, I got to thinking, you guys get these reports, the corporate board reports, and as a Katua member, if you allow me, I'd like to have one so I can look it over. You know, you guys are on TV. Transparency is what we talk about. How come we don't get one? Here, we want to look at it. We want to see the numbers. And I got one thing, then I'm going to close it out, if you guys will allow me that report. So if you guys can look at it, surely your bosses can look at it. But we're your bosses. Remember that. We're the bosses. We're the bosses out here. They work for us. No, they work for us. You guys work for us. And I want to say one more thing, then I'm going to quit. The council members that have been sitting here since all this started, and you guys sat here and you let this thing go on. You let people steal our money, and yet you don't say nothing, and yet you won't get reelected. For shame. You ought to quit running. You ought to step aside. Get people in here that want to do something for the tribe. That's a lot of money we lost. Some people's got a good point. Let's get it back. They stole it. It wasn't theirs. It was our money.
Absolutely right.
We could use it for education. We could use it for housing. We could use it somewhere. For shame. You ought to be ashamed if you've been here on that council when all this thing happened. And if you didn't speak up and you saw something, what was your priorities? It went to the tribe. When you were sworn into your office, when you became a council member, you swore that you would represent the people in your district, in our area. How come that hasn't happened? Need you done that, hon? Skinani nigga, need you done. Why did you not do that? How much are we going to be ahead if people would work together? I mean, I sit back here and I listen to you guys argue. You know, speak your mind. Just shut up and let somebody else speak. Don't jump in where you can't understand nothing. At least neglect you don't. But we're not. Why? So when you go home tonight, ask why. Why are we doing this to each other? We got a gold mindset in here. But yet, you squabble over pennies when everybody could have a dime. You want a penny. We've got the greatest opportunity now because, you know, we were so excited we got the land back. We had the casino running at one time and we lost it. We lost it. We had it. And we think it's fantastic because we found it again. We should have been asking, how come we lost it?
Right.
How come we gave it up? Come on, let's wake up. Let's work together. Let's just pull this dinosaur forward. Because there's potential on. If you don't see it, then you ought to join another tribe, all I can say. Because there's potential. I mean, how many members we got? 15,000? You know, we can insure every one of our contiguous members if we wanted to. Every one of us could have our own insurance. But no. No. We need people that are going to be forward thinking, wanting to step out, wanting to say something. And like I said, one more time, if I keep going, I'll go all day. I'm sorry, I have to apologize. But you people out there, you've got the greatest opportunity to get things done because they've got an election coming up. You go out there and you vote. And the people that's not doing their job sitting up here, you vote them out. You do your research. And you vote them people out so we can start moving forward. So, what don't for let me speak my mind. I still like to have a report though.
Right. No, he's wanting the numbers. He's wanting Archie Buzzard, Cowiskowee. Yeah, I don't know. When it comes to my meetings, I thought he was in Cowiskowee. Are you in Delaware?
Okay,
Cowiskowee?
you,
Delaware?
any more
I guess he is Delaware.
public forum? All right.
Huh? Yeah, he comes to my meetings, but yeah, X. Archie Buzzard. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's your public forum. Go ahead.
Well, this question is actually for Jeff.
What we hold a stump?
This question is actually for you, Jeff. My brother wanted me to come and ask you about the COVID money that we tribal members received. He wanted me to ask you about us not paying taxes on it and us not reporting it. So he wanted me to go on record or have you go on record of what you told me.
Yeah, we received email on the 17th, Finley and Cook. We paid Finley and Cook to investigate it and just confirm my research. And they confirmed it on the 17th. The whole council received an email stating that it was through the General Welfare Act that it would not be taxable.
Okay, and then he just wanted me to ask why we had to fill out a tax form.
That was just for the tribe itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it won't be reported like to the IRS?
No, it's a stimulus, yeah.
Okay, he wanted me to ask that, and I told him I'd come and ask.
That's a good question, though.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Is that everyone for public forum? Because like I said, the list is up there. I don't have a name to call forward. So if that's all, then, okay, that items.
What do you got there? Yeah, we have a little cold on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7, we have completed. We are on to item number 8, and that is new business. There's one item that came forward once the agenda was to be posted, and we have a sponsor of Jeff Wakachi, and it reads, council discussion to vote to approve, disapprove to invoke the UKB corporate board to provide quarterly dividends to the United Catawba Cherokee Indians in Oklahoma General Fund for essential functions and services effective immediately as described in the UKB Corporate Board Act under Section B. Business Development Powers 5, A, B, and first payment due 7/13/20 by close of business. Jeff, that is your item. I will give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Secretary. I would just like to just kind of touch base and inform the folks of why the people have been reaching out and asking what the corporate board's purpose is, and the corporate board's purpose is to actually provide jobs and economic security for the tribe, and they're supposed to be giving 30% of the profits to the tribe's gen fund. Well, they have not given any funds to the tribe since May of 2017. And currently, we have, in February, we obtained the OMB rates, the IHS. We signed a contract through government to government relations with the IHS. We signed that contract, and now the KCTS is actually able to stand alone on its own, and they're making a profit up there right now. But the Superior Funding, the loan company that we had, they were the ones that were paying the salaries and everything like that and keeping it afloat all this time. But ever since they got the OMB rates through the tribe's government to government IHS contract, they have been allowed to bill at a really better rate. It was like right around $100 a person to come in, and now it's $479 is what they're able to bill at the rate for each person that's coming in. But of course, for the non-natives, they do have to give some of that back. But they're on average, they have 4 staff members up there, 4 counselors that they're seeing on average about 8 a day. So whenever you do the math on that right there, 479 times about 40 a day, they're making a profit. They're making a profit. So, the Superior Funding no longer has to carry the KCTS any longer. So now the Superior Funding, what they're doing, that's starting to be profit for the corporate board. But looking at it, just more and more detail, the corporate board themselves gave themselves a raise. They gave all the staff raises. The KCTS, they haven't received a raise. Speaking of them, they hadn't received a raise in over 3 years. So that was a great thing right there. Great thing for the staff up there to get a raise and everything. But looking at it, they've hired on the CHOTA behavior health system there. And as Randall said, they've just started that, and it's been going for 2 months, and it's just all been expense on that right there so far. But he said they're getting ready to start billing out for that, so they're going to be able to be profitable in that right there. But we also have a couple of folks in February at the council meeting. Chief Bunch was denied the opportunity to travel to DC to speak with IHS and negotiate further opportunities for IHS funding and educational opportunities and everything like that. Well, last month, they signed a contract with Robert Weaver for $3,000 a month and 10 of each contract that he brings in to negotiate for IHS contracts. It's like, you won't allow our chief. He's our chief. He's the chief of the tribe. You will not allow him to go do that and negotiate for us, but you will pay somebody $3,000 who's not even a member of the tribe. You'll pay him monthly, $3,000 a month. That doesn't make sense, folks. That doesn't make sense at all. Then you go on and you got Rob Roush. Rob Roush. This gentleman has been working for us as of this month. Right now, he's been working for us for a year now. And his contract expired in April. He gets $3,000 a month, 10% of each thing that he brings. Well, we had a meeting in May. I said, well, how much has he actually been paid? How much has he brought to the table? Well, they said 10% of zero is zero. So that's what he's brought to us. He's brought to us nothing at all, but yet we're still paying him $3,000 a month. So for the last year, we paid him $36,000, if y'all can do the math. Yeah. And then this month, this will be his actually 13th month, so he's going to be paid $39,000 for not bringing anything at all to the tribe. So, with that being said, they're making money, and they're not relaying it to the tribe and to the people. So, I'm just hoping that the rest of the counselors will take that into consideration. And I would like to read this right here, just so the people understand where I'm coming from right here. This is Section 202 of the Corporate Board Act, Section B, ownership of the UKB Federal Corporation. The UKB Federal Corporation is wholly owned by the UKB. And Ms. Onale Locust pointed that out a while ago. I appreciate that, Onale. And operated as an agency and instrumentally of the federal government and the UKB. And then also Section 506 enforcement. It says it shall be the duty of the tribal council to enforce the code of ethics respecting all personnel and are subject to the direction and authority of the tribal council, including corporate board members, but accepting subordinate corporate board personnel who are subject to the direction and authority of the corporate board under subsection A. So the tribal council are the ones that are responsible to uphold the corporate board to this Corporate Board Act right here. It states that right there. They have not given the tribe any funds whatsoever since May of 2017. My resolution right here invokes that, which the corporate board will be giving funds to the tribe's gen funds, in which we're $300,000 in a deficit. Is that correct? We're in a deficit. They're making money. They know it. We know it. We've seen the reports. We've seen the bank account. And I don't know if I can discuss the bank account. Can I discuss the bank account? No. But you've seen the bank account on May 16th. They've got a pretty good amount of money there. And then on June 5th, it was increased. It increased. It went up by a couple of $100,000. So it's they're making money, folks, and it's time that we hold them accountable to this Corporate Board Act. And it states right there clearly that it's our job to enforce this Corporate Board Act. So that's all I got to say about it. Let's vote.
So what are you asking for, Jeff?
I'd like to comment on what that gentleman just had to say. Back one time, the corporate board was just kind of mediocre. What was going on there was that the top officials would come in and just take whatever money they wanted to take from the corporate board or whatever else. It seems to me like that the corporate board has been doing very well here lately. I may be mistaken. I don't know anything about their business really, but it seems like that they've been doing very well. But just like I say, that's just my opinion. They may be stealing every penny they can get their hands on too. I don't know. But anyway, from appearance, it seems like they're doing the right thing, people. I don't know. That's all I got to say about it.
Okay. Sharon, did you have something you wanted to say?
If we're going to look at this, we need to look at the allegations. And one of the things that I have learned, though, if he's putting this forth as a resolution, you know, we need to investigate before we pass a law that says certain things about the corporate board. Because the corporate board, to me, this is at this point in time in our tribe. I know we got the 24 million, and they are making money, but they do turn that money back around into, they are the business end of the tribe to where they regenerate money. And that's the only way to make money, is to put money back into a business. And I sat in on one of their meetings and been around for a lot of the things that's going on with the corporate board. But in regards to that, we've tried micromanaging the corporate board, and that didn't work. And I understand where Jeff's coming from. If they're making money, there's a certain amount of that money that's supposed to be coming in to the tribe. We agreed once before that a lot of the different departments need to be paying rent. That's just what's in the policy. And is that being done? I don't know if it is or not. Y'all remember that when we had that council meeting and we all agreed that the different departments needed to be paying rent, certain amount of money every month. And in regards to the corporate board and the money that's supposed to be coming in, I don't have any problem with investigating all of his allegations before we decide to do anything. And that's my point, is investigate. Make sure that the allegations are true before we do anything.
I would like to answer that right there. Section B, the business development, it's section B of the corporate board powers. It states right here, and this is what I was invoking right here. It says, Section A, 70% of shared annual profits or dividends, said amount to be determined according to sound business practices, shall be retained by the UKB Federal Corporation for the continued development and growth of operations and maintenance of existing and new UKB Federal Corporation business undertakings, and for the acquisition and improvement of the additional real property for such purposes or for the use of the UKB and its members. As such business ventures are the source of the profits or dividends and must be developed and protected as customary and normal for prudent business operations, and the UKB and its members have a critical need for additional lands upon which to live and develop. Section B, the remaining 30% of net profits or dividends shall be distributed by quarterly or annual, and I'm wishing to invoke the quarterly because of where we're at right now and the current situation of our gen fund. We need that. So the quarterly or annual dividend from the UKB Federal Corporation to the United Kituah Band of Cherokee Indians Gen Fund for essential government functions and service pursuant to the Gen Fund budget approval by the Tribal Council. So basically, this right here just says that we're going to hold them accountable to this Corporate Board Act, in which they have to answer to us, the Tribal Council. So, and it's our job to uphold them to this Corporate Board Act. So, I'd like to make that motion. And
Okay, motion's been made. Do we hear a second?
I'll second.
I'd like to respond.
Okay.
I believe that we're mixing up a couple of accounting terms here. You keep referring to profit. I understand what Jeff's doing, and I admire what he's doing. I got no problem with where his heart is. It's just that he's talking about profits, and but you refer to what is essentially just cash flow. With a certain amount is coming in, a certain amount is going out. And the development of future projects relies on that cash flow. So therefore, it can't be considered booked as a profit because it's got to be recycled back into the business to grow it. So it's a technical difference, but there is a difference. Just because a little more money came in than went out doesn't technically make it a profit if it has to recycle in to grow the business that we're trying to develop. And that's what's taking place with the corporate board. They're not doing anything sideways or crooked, or they're not trying to screw the tribe over. They're not. And they're just trying to grow the existing businesses that we have. And the only way to do that is through that cash flow to recycle it through. And it's not technically profit per se. It's recyclable money to grow the business.
And I understand it. I appreciate that explanation. But just like I said, I read right there, 70% retain. They retain 70%, and 30% of it comes to the tribe's gen fund. So, I'm not accusing anybody of stealing anything or anything like that. I actually said that we all know that they're making a profit. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I spoke with Adam out here from the corporate board. He's the assistant chairman, and had a great conversation with him, and I told him then, I said, if they would start contributing to the tribe like they're supposed to, they would be held as heroes. They would be held as heroes. They haven't contributed anything for 3 years. 3 years. And now they have that opportunity to where, and he even explained to me, and he said that some of the profits from the IHS can't be put into the gen fund. And I understood that. I clearly understood that. I said, that's fine. But now the profits that are coming from the Superior Lending Company or loan company, we could be getting some profits from that right there, because you get to look at the bank accounts, Eddie. You know what the bank accounts say. You can't sit here and say that y'all haven't increased. It hasn't increased. It's doubled in the last probably 3 months, 4 months. It's doubled, and you cannot sit here and say that that's not true, Eddie.
Well, one thing I do know is that just for disclosure, I don't run the books that we have. They have their own accounting group that works over there that does the books. But it's just a technical difference over what you're considering profit as opposed to turnaround. And if you're going to grow a business, you got to reinvest into that business. Therefore, that what you're calling profit over the margin is technically not profit, because once you recycle that back into the business to grow the business, it becomes just part of the capital of the business that you're trying to grow. It's not technically profit, because profit is money on top of. That money is going back in to help that business sustain. So therefore, it's arguable that it's really technically not even profit. It's over the margin of what was spent and put in, but it's being recycled. So therefore, it's like when you go to work and you get a paycheck, that's not profit, because you turn around and got to pay your rent and all this other stuff, and it all goes away. But as soon as you cash that check, you got a wallet full of money, but then it all goes away. Because it recycles in, and then anything above and beyond that is technically profit. And I'm not disagreeing with you, Jeff. I agree with where you're coming from.
And I understand that, Eddie, and I appreciate that. But just like, and it's crazy that you say that, because whenever I was talking to Adam, I said that I would put this in as clear terms as possible. And I said, it's like the corporate board is acting like a teenager. A teenager goes out and gets a summer job. They go out, they get their money, they get their paycheck. They go out, they run around, spend it on everybody else, anything, whatever they want to. No questions asked. They go out and do whatever. School time comes. They got to have the parents feed them. You got to have the parents buy them school's clothes, everything prepared for school. They run back to their parents, okay? And that's what's going on. No questions asked. Y'all just go in and do whatever. What you're supposed to be doing is acting like the mom or the dad and going out here and making money for the tribe, coming back home, paying your bills, and giving us our allowance. And that's all I'm saying is it's time to pay the allowance. Well, and you, just like you said, you use that analogy. You said that you get a paycheck, you go and it's not all profit because you go pay your bills. And that's exactly what this is saying right here, Eddie. You just made that
That's it.
I
clear.
think we've had about enough discussion on that.
I'm letting you finish and we're going to move on. Yes, thank you.
So it's time to pay the tribe their allowance. And so, like I said, we've already made the motion. Let's vote.
This is discussion here. I think you're misunderstanding, like the man over here he's got a degree in business administration. Profits and net profits, I think the court board says net profits. Now, this resolution you've got here, you're right in what it says quarterly, but what you're going to see is every quarter you'd have to have net profits. Cash flow and net profits are two different things from a business standpoint. Now, I don't know how many businesses you've developed, but you sound like you've done a lot of them. Would you share with us some successful businesses that you've developed over the years?
I actually run a catering business.
I didn't ask you what you ran. I want to know what you developed over the years.
That's what I developed.
Yeah,
I developed the catering business.
Okay, hang on.
Wait, this doesn't have anything
Yes,
to
ma'am.
do with anybody's personal. It's got to do with the business of the
Yeah.
tribe, so.
If it's already in the Corporate Board Act, why do we have to come up with a new resolution?
Well, it's just to
We don't.
enforce
We
it.
just
It's
need
to
to
enforce it,
enforce
to make someone
the Corporate
accountable,
Board
because the
Act.
thing is obviously things that are in the corporate act are being disregarded. I mean, just like the increase in stipend, that should have been council's decision. Well, but the thing is this is the only
There
way it's
you
gonna
go.
get noticed. The reason that I support Jeff in this and I second this motion is just to make sure that the corporate act is followed. We all have got to start following the laws and the rules, and we've got to quit bending them and closing our eyes whenever we feel like it. Just because you're friends with this friend or this friend or this friend or whatever, that doesn't give you justification to close your eyes and act like it's not
If it's
real.
in the Corporate Board Act, we just need to make sure that it's done. And if that's
Well, that's
what he's
exactly
in the
what Jeff is
process of
doing with
trying
this
to do,
resolution, is trying to make
he's
sure it's
trying to
done.
pass a resolution. A
Because no
resolution
one is
a
paying
law.
attention to what's going on.
And there's already a law in there. It's
Is it being
policy.
abided by? No. So here
Well,
it's gonna have to be
We
forced.
just need
Okay.
to make sure that's
Okay,
followed through.
okay, hang
Okay.
on, yes.
Let me interject here. I get what you're saying, both of you all. I get what y'all are saying, but if there's not money coming in for them to give to the tribe, how are they going to give it? Do we know for a fact? And y'all keep talking about these analogies that some of them are good, and some of them are kind of way out there, but we need to know for a fact that there is. And by making another law that says we're going to hold you to it, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen, because the first one didn't. So we as a council need to follow through on the things that we talk about. We talk about things, but we don't do
I agree.
anything about it.
I agree.
We just put it out there, gripe about it, holler about it, but what do we do about it? 2 months down the line, we're going to be talking about the same thing
Right.
again. We need to decide for sure if there's money coming in. Is there money coming in that you can give the tribe? Because the act says that you're supposed to give the tribe
Net
some
profits,
money.
net profit.
Yes,
Is
but
there-
the thing is too, is, and I'm not, go ahead, I'm sorry, I'm not
So
trying to
I'm
like.
just,
cut you
I'm
off.
just saying that we can argue about this,
Yeah.
but we need to figure out, we can't just come up and
Right.
say, let's make another resolution. Let's enforce them to do this. How can we enforce them if they're not enforcing it themselves? What are we going to do?
It's just to get their attention.
Okay,
You
so,
know,
so can we
and-
just not get their attention and say, this is what we're expecting? And I know Jeff's gonna say, it's already in the act, it's supposed to be done, but I think that somebody needs to come back and say, this is what we've made. And what we've made and what doesn't go back out to run a business, that part I understand. I'm not a business person, but I understand that part. If you have a business, you've got to keep it going
Right.
somehow. So if you're making money, then you gotta keep it going.
I don't disagree with that.
So how do we know what's the money that's supposed to come to the tribe and the money that they're making?
Right.
If that's to me, that's my question.
Yeah, but the thing is, and this is just my viewpoint. I don't know if this is reality, but just say, for instance, if KCTS is making money and we have 3 other businesses over here and these 3 other businesses over here are in the red, but your KCTS is over here profiting money. To me, it almost appears as though we are robbing Peter to pay Paul. If you have businesses over here that are in the red and you're taking money from KCTS to put into these businesses to keep them off the ground and keep them going, the proper thing to do is do an analysis and see why this business is failing. Don't keep shoving money into something that is not going to prosper. Either let it go or find out what the problem is, find out what the issues are and fix them. You know, I mean, because you can't keep taking money from where you could be profiting. You can't.
I've been on the corporate board for 5 years. I don't know if you went around and surveyed our tribal members, if they knew what the corporate charter was designed for. I wonder how many people could give you a clear definition of what it was designed for. 2015, the corporate charter was 65 years old. It had never been utilized for what it was designed for. That lady sitting right out there chose me to get on there to help her, and we discovered a lot of things that we wasn't briefed on, and we had to spend a lot of time in discovery. We had about $20,000 in the corporate authority board at that time, somewhere, give or take. It was pitiful. You know, in the last 5 years, just look around to see what that corporate board has done. She's not on there anymore, but you mentioned KCTS. That was a money pit. We were basically begged not to turn that thing, stop it because of the service we were providing. Today, it's finally been turned around with the right people in place. The billing wasn't even, we got people up there that's getting treated and don't even pay, we've discovered. So, and now it's finally starting around. We're pitting those patients out because you can't keep having them in there. CNO has sent over $40-some thousand worth of people over there that we have. They owe us over $46,000, I think it is. They're not going to pay us. So you have to put the money back in, just like Mr. Sachs explained. The cash flow has to go in to build your businesses. And so, you know, we could go here and pass this and say at the end of the 3 months, we do an audit. And if we have $100 net profit, after all expenses and everything is paid, there's $100 net. So according to the math, and actually, I want to correct him. It's 50-50, not 70-30, because I want to be fair. So let's give the tribe $50 and we keep 50. I'd like for everybody at this table to tell me how much money you spent of your COVID money already since you've had it in your hand and what you spent it on. I know a couple of things. I've just handed her an appraisal for a building that she's trying to purchase with some of the money that was allocated. So that $50 that we could give for net profits, I guess you could lay it around there, but let's talk about things right here. And we're going to have an audit that's complete. Randall, when's that audit going to be complete? End of July, right? 3 years. We'll have 3 years of books that has been audited, finally. Anybody that has any business sense knows that you got to have some auditable books to present, some financials when you go and try to move a business forward. I mean, we're looking at oil companies that are depressed right now. There's companies that we can pick up, but you got to have some financials. He explained it very clearly a while ago, but I'm saying let's vote on this thing, and if that's what you want to do, it's net
One of the
profit.
biggest mistakes we have made as a tribe was when we put all our eggs in one basket, the casino. We depended on that financially. And right now, at this point in time, the way I look at the corporate board, this is a moneymaker. They're putting up businesses, the brewery, whatever you call it thing, and then also the restaurant. Hopefully that will get started, and the float place. I know these are small starts, but hopefully, at some point in time, these will be generating money. And when that happens, I hope we get our share of the money into in-house. And I know that's what Jeff is talking about. I don't disagree with that we do need to follow what is in that policy.
Okay.
I want to say too, I've been to every corporate board meeting, and I know there is no profit. No profit. The profit they make goes back into the bills. And that 2017 you were talking about, that was with the historic preservation when we were getting that money.
All right. Well, I'm glad we can remember that part of the historic preservation that came into play. It was kind of obvious, and the year before that, I brought up an issue that, and I asked about it. I asked for receipts. I was told that there was stipends, bonuses, or reimbursements. And unfortunately, we never got those. We never got any of them. So, and the Miss Locust was the one that even issued that, even confessed to saying that when we had no bonus monies, no nothing to give, but yet we could still do that. They haven't paid us anything since then. Ask how many jobs we have. What happened? They received a
No,
bonus
I'm
over.
asking, what are you talking about? What's that? I mean, we
I
were
was just
talking about
amazed that
voting
we
on this,
went
and it
back
just-
and remembered that the treasurer even got on the computer in 2016 so she could see all the accounts. But she hadn't done that, but we're going to vote on it now, okay? Yes.
Say one more thing. Is there any way that this can be done without having to make a resolution? Can we ask
The thing is it's just, the corporate board needs to stick to the Corporate Board Act. It is up to the council to make sure that they stick to the act. I don't care whether this is passed or not. I just want the corporate board to be accountable for their actions, because I get tired of going back over and over and over things. We just impeached a chief for not following the Constitution. Did we or did we not?
Yes.
So the corporate board should be held to the same standard.
Right.
So if
I
they're not going
understand
to
that.
be held to that standard, then maybe they need to be impeached too. But I'm just saying, something's got to give here. And we keep going back and forth and arguing back and forth over the same thing. I'm with Jeff. Just make them accountable, you know? And the only reason that I support this is because I do believe they should be doing this quarterly. Whatever the corporate board act says, that's what they should be following. I don't disagree that the corporate board is working hard. I don't disagree with that. But don't go give yourself a stipend increase, not without mama and papa knowing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with that part.
I'm still like if it passes, who's going to see that this is fulfilled? If it's failed, then who's going to see that it's still being fulfilled?
The thing is walls are going to come up. Walls are going to come up everywhere, and it's going to be hard for anyone sitting right here on council. It's going to be hard for them to be able to actually follow through with this and be able to make sure it happens. We just have to hold our corporate board accountable.
But, and I'm
They
just
have,
listening
they
to
have
y'all.
their
I
own accounting
understand that.
department.
Exactly.
And so their
They have
accounting
their own
department,
accounting.
they need
So
to get
does
with our accounting and get that
So
straightened
does
out.
someone from their accounting work with our accounting and say, hey, here's what we got. There's nothing that can go towards the tribe as of August 1. You know, maybe in
Yeah, I mean, even
December 1.
if they can sit here and say, okay, you know, we have no net profit, we have nothing to contribute to the tribe. That's better than not saying nothing since
Well,
2017.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to make another law over what we've already passed that's within an act. So I'm just not really.
It actually just says to invoke the corporate board act to quarterly. Instead of, because speaking with Adam said that they were only had to give a dividend to the tribe annually. So I came up with this to invoke the quarterly.
So we have a 7/13/20. Today's the 11th. Tomorrow's the 12th, so Monday, you would want something within the nature of revenue to go into the tribe. Or what, because you've got a date here. So.
Yep.
They should have their accounts all in order, so they should be able to
I
just
mean,
go.
I may just be
Come up.
not looking at this clearly.
I just want to say that last month or so, we had a resolution that was trying to change something in the corporate act. And what you need to do is amend the corporate act if you want to change something. But in this case, you're not changing anything because it's already in place. There's a section in the corporate act that says every month, the corporate board has to give you a report. And in that, there's a list of what should be in that report. Well, that's when you would know if there is a profit, a net profit coming in. So you would take that, let's say at the end of January, it has this report, February, March.
Can't hear, Mike.
Yeah, thank you for that. Randall, the
Wait, let
financials
her
need to be
finish.
on
Hey,
this
let
as
her
well.
finish.
Yeah, I'm letting
Let
you
her
back.
finish. I'm just explaining what you should do, because invoking only says appeal. You're appealing to the council to make this happen. Well, you can't make something happen that isn't there. So, but you have to have evidence of what is coming in to invoke that. So, and that would just only require you saying that. Say, hey, you need to pay up this money. I mean, they shouldn't have to be told, but you have to go from that report to see if there's a net profit at the end of the 3 months. Then they have to pay 50%, and you probably have the O, and it's 50%. 50% for net profits. And I wanted to say that about Superior Funding. They paid over $400,000 to KCTS to keep it going. So KCTS is not going to have a profit for a very long time because they owe money to Superior. So, and you have to have money in Superior to make the business grow, because you got to give out loans. So they're going to have a different standard for the net profit. KCTS will have a different standard for the net profit. So when you come down to the bottom line, you're going to have 3 months of something. So that's just my explanation.
Your mic.
The reason I brought that up is because we just got an email regarding the financials that came from LD. So you could review those, which it had figures in there. So that's where I'm kind of coming from. At what point do you?
Yeah, and the figures on that right there, they had roughly close to around 80,000 profit last month through the Superior Funding, KCTS, and the all the stuff combined. If you would look at the reports there.
But Jeff, they owe lots of money.
The
Corporate board
board act also states that the tribe is not responsible for any of the corporate board debts acquired. It also states that right there. I can't get it through to y'all enough to say the corporate board act states they get 70% to do and develop and put back into developing, and then 30% goes to the tribe's gen fund. And
Okay.
That part, Jeff, I get that, what y'all are talking about, make them accountable for what they're supposed to do. I get that. But I don't think invoking anything is going to make a difference there, because if there's not any money to give back, if there's no money that they can give, where are they going to get it? Is what my question is. And you're saying that they do have money, but they just got finished saying that they have to go back and pay it out.
we looked at their bank accounts. Did you not see the bank account on May 16th?
Yes, I did, but we
And-
also
and then-
had
and then
people
we
that
looked at-
came to us and told us what they're saying here.
And then we looked at it again on June the 6th.
I understand that
And
you all
so,
want
and
to.
it actually went up. It actually went up several $100,000s.
Is there
So,
anything, is there
it's-
any money coming in?
So if they're not making any
Okay.
profit, how's their bank accounts going up and increasing several hundred
Mr.
thousand
AG, would you
dollars?
come up here and address
Okay.
this issue, please? from a legal standpoint.
All right.
We're gonna vote on this thing. What is it? Is it just crazy? We're just gonna talk.
We're getting ready to. Thank you. Yes. Mr. AG.
What the hell is going on here? This is ridiculous.
My thought is just that if financial reports that are properly audited and accounted for, provided to the council every month or every quarter, council would be able to see exactly what the profit is and how much council should be being paid under the split. So I would encourage the corporate board, and I don't represent the corporate board, but I'd encourage the corporate board to make sure council is getting those documents. As far as this resolution goes, I think it would just reinforce what's already in the Corporate Act. Would you agree with that, Jeff? And yeah, it would invoke the quarterly requirement. So quarterly, you'd have a report and you'd receive a check for whatever the net profits are, the percentage that the council is supposed to receive. Net profits. So if they're getting a good accounting report every month or every quarter, then there's transparency and everybody knows what council should be receiving. I think the main problem is council feels like it's not seeing the reports in a detailed enough form to understand what council should be receiving every quarter.
Yeah, the gentleman just got a copy of the report over there, and I mean, half of it's blank. I mean, there's no revenue for KCI, no revenue for, I mean, several of them, all the companies that they own. The Sequoia Sign Company, they've told us that they're not making any money on it.
That's getting ready
but they're
to
not paying
change
anything
after
out.
Thursday.
But they're not paying anything out. Yeah. And so.
Yeah, so I would just encourage the corporate board to provide financials regularly that break down all the businesses and have a net profit at the bottom for all the businesses. And that may be zero sometimes, but that would allow council to be assured that you're getting the proper funding from the corporate board. Well, the resolution would make it clear that council is asking for its payments on a quarterly basis, because the corporate board says monthly or quarterly. So this would make it clear that council expects to have a check.
Well, if we could do it, we could do it.
Sorry, annually or quarterly.
If we could do it, we'd do it monthly, wouldn't we? Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I misspoke, annually or quarterly. So this is invoking the quarterly provision. Now, some quarters, the corporate board may not have a profit. So the tribe wouldn't get anything. But as long as we have documented, clear financial reports to council, you'll be able to see what you should be getting.
So you would, by a legal opinion, what you just said, would it just go off your addressment just now, or would it require a resolution?
The only thing that would require a resolution would be asking for the money on a quarterly basis rather than an annual basis. I mean, there's already a requirement to provide financial reports to council in the Corporate Board Act, so
Right, and that
it's
was
just a matter of
something
making sure that gets done.
Right, and that's a job within itself.
Yeah, well, it's been my experience that there's no nefarious scheme to withhold anything from the tribe. I mean, these guys are reputable people that are working with the corporate board. They're not intentionally trying to do anything underhanded or crooked, but it's just I think it's a matter of an interpretation of how you determine what is net profit. I mean, if you got, he's referring to cash flow is what he's referring to, not net profit per se. Because if the money got to recycle back in, it's not net profit.
Right, I'm just asking for financial documents that show what's being cycled back in and what net profit, if any, is left over.
Yeah, like I said, the corporate board is, I actually will vote for Jeff's resolution because I don't believe the corporate board any member of the corporate board or any member of the staff that works for the corporate board is doing anything wrong. I mean, I think that we're already complying with what you're asking for. It's just that I'm not really clear what you're asking for because we report it.
No, it's just to make sure that everything is in black and white and to make sure that the act is being followed. And he's wanting to invoke the quarterly. There's not anything wrong with that.
Yeah, and you keep referring to cash flow. Well, the cash is flowing for the corporate board. That's what I'm saying, is the cash is flowing, and you know it.
You know, really, I'm going to make one comment. We're going to get ready to vote. We've got a motion and a second right there. We're going to get ready to vote, but I'm going to make one comment. And all that is at what point in time is those individual companies responsible for themselves? Now, what we see is a construction company, we see a brewery, we see a sign, we see this and that, and yet there's only one or two of them that's paying the premium for all of them. At what point in time they're going to have to ante up or lose them? I mean, any business person knows that. If you're having to rob Peter to pay Paul, something's wrong here. Don't you agree? I mean, we hadn't seen a business plan or a budget, and all we're asking is for a quarter. Every quarter, give us some money. That's it. But no, we go through this. All right. Enough said. We got to vote.
I think Representative Smoke had a question.
Where's your mic?
How did you justify to get pay raise?
I don't know.
I'm just saying that we've been told that the cab board is not making money or very little, if any, then how do they justify giving pay raises if there ain't no money to do it with?
I didn't get one. I don't know.
Did you vote yes for it?
I didn't.
Did you vote yes for it?
If I got one, they haven't paid me yet. But,
Okay,
I mean,
all right.
If all Jeff is asking for is a greater understanding and transparency of the way the cab board does business, I got no problem with that. I agree that he has every right to that information, and this whole council does. I got no problem with that. If that's all he's asking for, I completely agree with him. But, it's just we're getting into semantics and technicalities and stuff like that, and some people understand this aspect, some people look at it this way. It's a perspective issue that's flaring up here. It boils down to Jeff is saying, please let us know what's going on this particular basis. I don't believe there's any member of that cab board that would disagree with that. We have no problem with that. At least I don't.
One more question. Well, it says the first payment is due by 7/13, which is Monday, right? By the close of business.
Our accounting department and their accounting department should be getting together and coming up with that number. And then after they come up with the number, then they should be letting us know. We should actually know. And yes.
I don't think that's realistic to actually have the first payment on Monday.
But as long as they're in the process starts and their accounting department, I'm fine with that. But I mean,
Well,
it
well,
has to be done.
That was
Well, it
my
needs to be
question a
changed.
bit ago, is that can the corporate accounting meet in the middle with tribal accounting to
Yeah.
get to this to get to this language here.
Yeah, it's gonna, I mean, there's no way possible that it's gonna happen on
And that's
Monday.
what now
I
you
mean,
got a
even-
date of
Even if
Monday.
we could just, if this resolution passes to do it quarterly, then just, I think that we need to stick to the quarterly thing. Make the two accounting departments aware of what needs to happen, how they need to come together, and let it go from there.
And that's what I'm saying, but now you got a date in here. Do you remove the date? Because that's Monday.
Ask Jeff.
I mean.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure. Oh, he left.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if he's willing to modify the resolution.
Okay. Because you got a quarterly and then you got a date of Monday. You got quarterly here, quarterly dividend. Now you want a first payment.
She had a question about.
Yeah, well, they pay an accountant, and they also have a treasurer. So their account they should have a really good grasp on what they have in their accounts. I mean, if they have two people overseeing these accounts, it shouldn't be such a hard reach for them to come up and with their accountant that they're paying, and then their actual treasurer. So, I mean,
But
that's
like what
two
she's saying, with the date, do you want to modify this resolution and scratch the date so that the money is not due on Monday? And just give the accounting departments time to get together and work on this so that they can give us accurate numbers? And then do it quarterly from that point on?
If I was going to modify, I would modify it and say that the accounting departments need to get together on Monday
So the Monday date is for them
to start the
process?
Yeah, to start the process on Monday.
What is that?
I'd be willing to do that right there. Well, no, we're actually closed on Monday, so it'd have to be Tuesday. It'd have to be Tuesday. Yeah, that's right.
The resolution requires quarterly reports. And so the first report under this resolution would not be due until, I don't know if I guess we're in the middle of a quarter probably. So it'd be due at the end of the next full quarter, if that makes
Should
sense.
be October, August, September, October.
Probably be more like September, since it's July.
Well, but you have to follow the quarters as they're on the fiscal year calendar. So,
October 1?
okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
January, December?
So we're in the middle of a quarter right now. So the way I would interpret this is that the next full quarter is when you would get your first report. So probably October.
Report
or no, end of September.
Or payment. Report or payment?
Both. If there's a net profit and a payment to pay, then it would be the end of September.
If there is a net profit.
By September.
September 30th would be the deadline. So technically, you'd get the report. You probably wouldn't get the report until October because it'll take a week or two after the end of the quarter to compile all the data and get it into a report. So the actual check probably wouldn't be cut until the middle of October.
I do love G.
Because there's some lag time after the end of the quarter to compile the reports.
Thank you, I love you too.
That would make it go into a whole new year right there. So that would kind of throw things off too. If they made the payment in October, I mean, that would.
That's usually how it works, just because you can't get the reports ready until the quarter has closed out and they'd have time to develop the reports. So September 30th would be the last day of the quarter. And then within a couple weeks, you should have the report and the check.
Excuse me, I'd like to say one thing here, but then we can vote on it. There's been a lot of condemnation without any investigation taking place here. Everybody here is invited to the corporate board meeting as ex officio officers. Jeff, how many meetings have you been to since you've been in office?
I've not made it to any, but I've got some of the
Okay,
reports.
there's exactly
I've
what I'm
asked for
talking about.
reports.
Never been there.
Yeah, it's been during the day. You just now moved it to kind
moved
of
them everywhere.
to make it to where the counselors could show up. So I appreciate that right there. So thank you.
Okay, no more discussion that's been requested to call for vote. Okay, now I'm hoping, I'm hoping this is right. All the language under there will stay except the bottom line where it says first payment due 7/13/20 by close of business. It should read the next full report and payment of September 30th, 2020. Now that's what I took. Is that what you all are understanding?
The fiscal year starts in
October 1.
October 1. Yeah,
Well,
and
for us, it's January 1, December. But if you go by the quarter,
yeah. But
you
what
go by
what
quarter or
yeah,
not.
but what I'm getting at is the fiscal year, the start of the fiscal year is October 1, so that should be a payment there at the start of the year.
Yeah, they do calendar year.
The corporate
tribe
the
does.
corporate
Right.
board does
Calendar year.
they do calendar
Okay.
year instead of fiscal year.
okay. I now I'm understanding now. So we were in the fiscal year October. Okay. All righty.
In October.
I don't think there's I don't think there's any member of the board that has a problem with issuing reports. It's the perceived perception that the board is being accused of something. That's the rub. And what I witnessed of the board, these people are working hard to make
following-
money for the tribe. And to get the impression that there's a certain insinuation that's being put out to the public, and I'm not saying this is coming from Jeff, I've heard it before, that the board is some kind of nefarious body that's somehow robbing the tribe in some way is just incorrect, because I've been there and I've watched them, and they're all doing what they can with what resources they have available to them to try to advance the economic, impact of this on this tribe. They're doing their job as best as they can, and the only pushback is to get the impression that the board members are being accused of something that they're not doing. I'm not saying you're doing that, but that's the impression that comes across, is that you're saying that they feel like you're somehow insinuating that they're doing something wrong. And even if that's not your intent, that's kind of the impression that some of them get.
I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just saying that the proof shows that you haven't gave any funds until since May of 2017.
No, I'm not saying you're
So-
insinuating anything. I'm saying, but they get
So
that impression.
I'm saying that it's a fact.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
fact. I'm
But-
not insinuating anything. I'm stating facts right now. You
Yeah, I'm
haven't
saying-
given
I'm not-
anything
I'm-
to the tribe since May of 2017. That's a fact.
Well,
No
I'm-
insinuation whatsoever.
I'm not saying you're insinuating. I'm saying that they may get the impression that you're insinuating something. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying that they can get that impression. So that naturally causes pushback. And I'm actually want to vote for your resolution, because I don't think the board has anything to hide. I got no problem with that. But
So you're-
I can see where there's pushback, and I'm just explaining that's what.
If you people are trying to stretch this into some kind of a record for setting time to talk about something, you got a long ways to go. I remember on one occasion, we come to council meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning and left at 11 o'clock at night. So you got a long ways to go, people, if you think you're gonna talk that to death.
Are we
Well, we're
ready
not
to vote?
shooting for that, but anyway, yes, sir?
I just wanted to add that it was pointed out that a quarter just ended. And so if Representative Wakochi wanted, he could have his resolution apply to the quarter that just ended, and within 30 days or something, have reports from the corporate board about the quarter that just ended on June 30th, I believe.
Could you explain to them what profit is?
No, because I'm a lawyer.
So I'm fine with that right there. I'm fine with that.
Good answer.
No.
Yeah, I'm not an accountant, but generally a
Are you
business.
okay with that too? The 30 days, give them 30 days for this past.
Yeah, I mean, it's
3
your
months?
resolution.
Yeah.
I mean, but it makes sense if the quarter just ends.
Yeah, yeah.
It just
So
ended.
I'm good with that.
Not
So-
the September.
Yeah.
date.
Within 30 days
Within 30 days from June the
for
30th.
the last quarter. The last quarter.
Well, no, I mean, I'm sorry, 30 days from now, but it will, the quarter just ended in June, correct? Yeah.
The initial outlay for the project, but that's not profit. You gotta recycle it back in and start paying people.
Why should you have to audit the books whenever everything's set in?
What you do is you got your bills,
Yeah, but
your overhead.
is everything not already reconciled? It was
You
in
still ain't
June.
making profit because you gotta buy fuel for your bill.
You gotta pay rent, you gotta pay light bill.
Exactly right.
Well, you guys should have already done that, correct?
Even if you make
If that fiscal year just ended.
You got $1 million company, they say, this is you. Right?
No, within 30 days of the resolution.
After you pay all your bills.
Because, yeah,
If you're lucky.
because
You don't have that left.
their quarter closed
You know what
out
I'm
on June the 30th, so 30 days from this resolution.
We're gonna vote on this issue or not?
Yes.
Trying to get the wording correct.
Hang on, Barry, hang on.
I know, hold your horses.
Hold the horse, hold the horse. No executive session, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
To talk about something very serious.
New business, item 1. We had a lengthy discussion, so I'm hoping I got the last end of the language right. And the language stays the same as noted, except for the last sentence, which is within 30 days of this resolution. And today's resolution is July the 11th. So that 30 days from July 11th gives you
So they're trying to.
August.
They're trying to say that it's wrong doing. That's-
She said the resolution date, July the
Honor,
11th.
just honor before, just whenever, I mean, if they have to stretch it out till 30 days and. so be
Okay,
it.
I think if that is an acceptable language that I read, then I will call for vote. Okay. Oh. Okay,
Pass her up.
okay.
She
So
had a
we'll,
stroke. Stroke.
okay, we'll go back as to the motion was made by Jeff and the second was by Jeannie. It is item number 8. I will call for vote. Eddie?
Yes.
Jeannie?
Yes.
Ella May?
I'm gonna have to vote no.
I'll have to, oh, there's this. Adeline? Frankie?
Yes.
Sharon?
No.
I will, yes. Peggy?
Comply with what's.
Jamie?
No, because we're going to have more expenses to audit.
Charles? Barry?
No.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, under yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Under no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chief Counsel motion carries.
Thank you, council. Let me AG, do we have an item for executive session? About 30 minutes at the max? Okay. Okay. 30 minutes at the max.
No, come
What?
on now, we might have other things to talk about. We can't put a limit at 30 minutes.
35.
We say 30 minutes, it doesn't take you an hour.
We give them 5 minutes to talk right there and they take an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, having said that, I need a motion and a second to move into. Okay, Jeannie, motion, Frankie, second.
We have a motion on the floor by Jeannie and a second by Frankie to enter executive session with it's noted as item number 9 on the agenda.
What did they say?
I will call for vote. Eddie?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You did say yes, right? Okay, okay.
There you go.
Jeannie said. Ella May?
Yes.
Adeline? Frankie? Sharon?
Yes.
Joyce? Yes. Peggy? Jamie? Charles? Barry? Yes. Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. Council, we are in executive session at 1:37.